Chapter 6. Insults. Taiju was silent as Wang Zhuo, in a derisive tone, said, "I have said before that this kid didn't have any talent. All he did was go and lose face for our family. I passed on the first test, so I didn't see him until later on. A few days later, I heard that he failed all 3 tests. He might as well not have gone. I would have preferred it if fourth uncle's son had gone instead." Taiju's fourth uncle frowned and said, "Wang Zhuo, even if you were going to become an immortal, what can you possibly know about what my son can or can't do?" The audacity! There was a flash of coldness in Wang Zhuo's eyes. He quietly laughed, but didn't say anything. Taiju's father suddenly looked like he had aged more than 10 years and fell down to a seat. Taiju's mother was also shocked. She couldn't believe what was happening. She asked, "Taiju, is this true?" Taiju bit his lip until it started bleeding. He fell to the ground and kowtowed a few times. He whispered, "Mom, Dad, Taiju wasn't selected by the immortals. I am sorry. I will repay you both in the next life." Taiju's mother realized her son was in despair. She quickly ran and helped Taiju to his feet. She whispered, "Child, don't worry. So what if you weren't selected by the immortals? Next year there is the district exam. Child, don't be so hard on yourself. Don't do anything stupid either. Your father and mother still expect you to be at our funerals." Taiju's father snapped out of his daze. He realized the kind of mental state Taiju was in. His heart trembled, and he quickly ran up to his son. Holding him, he nervously said, "Taiju, you better not do anything stupid. Listen to your dad. Let's go home and study hard for next year's district exam." The surrounding relatives quickly moved away from Taiju's family. They all gathered around as if they were watching a show, gossiping and sharing comments about the event unfolding before them. Taiju's sixth uncle quipped, "I always knew that this Taiju kid didn't have any talent. How could he compare to Wang Zhuo?" Totally right. Since this was bound to happen, why act like he was already accepted? How shameful. "Lao, you are this old already. How could you still do something so stupid? No wonder Dad didn't give you a share of the inheritance back then," said Taiju's third uncle sarcastically. "If you ask me, the story that this kid has always been smart since he was a child was fabricated. It was probably because Lao knew that he himself was a failure. He tried to raise his son's reputation by lying, and now he's been exposed," said Taiju's fifth uncle, whose face had turned ugly. A female relative scoffed. Out of the 3 children that went to test, only he failed. "Taiju is the worst child in our Wang family. Second sister-in-law, I earlier said you had good fortune with second brother. Now it seems like your luck will keep dwindling for the rest of your life." Taiju's fifth aunt also sneered, "Isn't he that right? When I went to see Taiju a few days ago, I was wondering how he could compare to Wang Hao and Wang Zhuo at all." Another female relative mercilessly said, "I had already seen that kid Taiju didn't have any talent. Just look at his mom and dad. How could they give birth to anyone good? In our Wang family, only eldest brother and third brother's kids are any good. Taiju, bah, just with that name he sounds like an idiot. I was totally blind back then, about to push my daughter into a pit of fire. Good thing we found out beforehand that Taiju wasn't selected by the immortals. My daughter would hated me forever if I had her marry him. Taiju's mom, let us forget about this whole thing. Since your Taiju won't become an immortal, who would want their daughter to marry him? Isn't that like a toad wanting a swan's meat?" In a few moments, all the relatives turned into snobs. They continuously launched a barrage of insults at Taiju's family. Compared to the previous scene, it was like heaven and earth. There were even relatives who went as far as to ask for the gifts they gave back. Seeing his parents' pale faces, Taiju tightened his fist. Listening to all the insults left him wishing he was dead. Wang Zhuo's father laughed inwardly and sneered, "Lao, didn't I tell you that to become an immortal's disciple, you need fate on your side? How could there possibly be any chance unless you have talent like my son? Yet you seriously believed it would be possible. Now you made your son wish he was dead. Was there a need for this?" Taiju's father couldn't hold in his anger any longer. He shouted, "Wang Tianshan, shut your mouth! Back in the day, father on his deathbed left me a part of the inheritance. You worked with the other relatives to steal it away from me, and now you are here insulting me. Do you really think I, Wang Tianshui, will quietly endure this?" and all of you people as well. Earlier you were happily congratulating me, and now you are here insulting us. Our son is already in this state, yet you add insult to injury. Are you all still human? Wang Tianshan paused for a moment and said, Why bring up the past? I warned you with good intentions that your son didn't have any talent, but here you are being angry at me. With a dad like you, the son won't be much better. All the insults thrown at the crestfallen Wang Lin were like thorns piercing his heart. He coldly looked at everyone and engraved their faces into his heart. I'll fight you to the death. Taiju's father couldn't hold in his anger any longer and picked up a chair. Taiju's fourth uncle rushed up and stopped him, whispering, Brother, don't be impulsive. Elder brother has many servants. Listen to me, don't bother with him. Taiju's fourth uncle glared at Wang Tianshan and said, Eldest brother, is that any way to talk? I will not listen to this any longer. If you dare to keep insulting my second brother, don't blame me for not caring about family ties. While the Wang family is big, I have made many friends during my travel. Don't push me to burn it all. Wang Tianshan murmured a few words. He still feared the well-connected fourth brother. Laozi, what you are saying is unreasonable. We aren't wrong in pointing out that Lao Edison doesn't have any talent. What's wrong with us, the older generation, scolding the younger? What you saying is too unreasonable, said the family's third eldest uncle with discontent. In dreams, Leo sees his video standing in third place on the popular charts. Hoping to garner more fan support, and looking for help from you all to climb even higher in the rankings this month. Chapter 69, Untitled. Situnan muttered a few words. He knew that Wang Lin was very worried, so he didn't waste any more time. There is still a bit of my soul essence left. I can help you teleport once, but only once, because if too much of my soul essence is used up, then I'll disappear before you reach spirit transformation, he said. With that, Situnan didn't say anymore. Wang Lin suddenly felt a cold air enter his body. This cold air was overwhelming. It was many times stronger than the time he was teleported by the white light. The cold air cycled through his body. Every part of his body that the air would pass through started to freeze. Wang Lin became like an ice sculpture and started to lose control of his attraction technique. Zhou Peng noticed Wang Lin's change, particularly when Wang Lin stopped chasing him, but he didn't even dare to turn around. He began to move even faster. When Wang Lin's body turned into an ice sculpture, Situnan shouted, Keep your mind calm. I'm about to teleport. Suddenly dark swirls cycled through Wang Lin's body, and in the blink of an eye his body disappeared. Zhou Peng's divine sense had been locked onto Wang Lin this whole time. When Wang Lin suddenly disappeared, he was stunned. Before he could even understand what had just happened, a black dot appeared 5 meters in front of him. The black dots split up into smaller black dots and each one of them turned into a black swirl. At the same time, Wang Lin's body suddenly appeared. The ice on his body quickly melted and he said, In a cold voice you can run away. Zhou Peng was shocked. His face became pale. He clenched his teeth and spat out a mouthful of green light. This green light grew until it became a giant python. He bit the tip of his tongue and spat out some blood. That blood turned into a bell. He rang the bell and the python grew even larger. Then it swiped its tail at Wang Lin. Situna said, with a lazy voice, Brat, there is still a bit of my power in your body. It would be a waste not to use it. I am going to borrow your body and show you one of my famous techniques. With that, blue lights appeared from Wang Lin's body, forming a blue ball of light before him. The moment the ball appeared, the sky darkened and a destructive force appeared. With a boom, the ball broke and sent out waves of destructive force. When the wave touched the python's tail, the ice traveled all the way to its head. The python fell to the ground, frozen solid. Zhou Peng coughed out a mouthful of blood because of his connection with the python, but just as he coughed out the blood froze into red droplets. Then, Zhou Peng's body also slowly froze until he became an ice sculpture. Situnan proudly said, It is unfortunate that there are no more people. This technique of mine works best when there is a lot of people. Hey kid, this is the power of the underworld ascension method. Can you see how strong the cold energy of this technique is? Wang Lin's body moved. He caught Zhou Peng's frozen body. Without stopping, he rushed away from the Hengyu mountain. After finding an isolated place, He placed Zhou Peng's frozen body to the side and asked Situ Nan, "Is Zhou Peng already dead?" Situ Nan slowly said, "This little baby is not dead yet, but he is close. If you want him to die faster, you can just break the ice, then he will die for sure." Wang Lin's eyes lit up. After pondering for a while, he said, "Before, you said you would teach me a puppet technique. Teach me that technique now." Situ Nan let out a laugh. He was very happy with how things were turning out. He hadn't told Wang Lin what the puppet technique was like or where it was from. Actually, this puppet technique was a demonic technique. He thought that Wang Lin was lacking killing intent. With his lack of killing intent, even if Wang Lin had 10 lives, it wouldn't be enough to survive in the cultivation world. Situ Nan had been trying very hard to change Wang Lin's nature, and it seemed he was finally having some success. Situ Nan was very happy. "This puppet technique must be performed by you. I'll tell you how it's done once you find a secluded cave," he happily said. Wang Lin grabbed Zhou Peng. He searched around until he found a cave and went inside. Situ Nan slowly said, "I'll release the ice now. Zhou Peng is in a near-death state. You must open up his body, take out his inner organs, and start refining them." Wang Lin was stunned. He hesitated for a bit, then said, "Take out his inner organs and refine them? This." Situ Nan secretly laughed and said, "This is a necessary step for making puppets. If you can do it, then I can help you." He secretly thought, "Brat, you have never seen blood, so how will you ever be bloodthirsty?" This puppet technique is actually not this complicated, but this is a good opportunity to open your eyes a bit. Kid, you will definitely be my demon sect's member. You can escape it. While thinking that, Situ Nan quickly shouted, "I am going to remove the ice. You have half an hour, so don't waste any time. Think about what he was planning to do to your parents." With that, the ice surrounding Zhou Peng quickly melted and turned into blue light. The blue light returned to the heaven-defying bead. Wang Lin hesitated for a while. He thought that if he didn't solve this problem now, there will definitely be more problems in the future. He clenched his teeth and waved his hand over Zhou Peng's body to cut it open. The strange thing was that there was no blood dripping out. While suppressing his sense of nausea, Wang Lin followed the directions Situ Nan gave him. He was forming different seals with his hands as his divine sense focused on the task. This half an hour felt like a whole year. When Situ Nan proudly said it was over, Wang Lin couldn't help but rush out of the cave and puke. Situ Nan laughed. "Good, this first step is over. Now this second step is the most important step. You must surround his body with your divine sense and refine it for 3 days and 3 nights. Once you do that, the puppet can be considered complete. You will need to perform some techniques during those 3 days. I'll explain them one by one, so listen carefully." Wang Lin's face was pale as he bitterly nodded. He took a deep breath and returned to the cave. "From yesterday until now, Leo has only slept for 2 hours. Can't take it anymore. Today there's only the first watch. Leo wants to catch up on sleep. After the salon ends, the missing chapters will be compensated." Chapter 700, Startling Change. The end of a mortal's life is a century, but not many can actually live a full century. When Wang Ping was 72 years old, he felt that his life was at its end. A year later, though his body was still healthy, he could clearly feel that his life was about to end. Winter came early this year, just like the year Sun Tai left. The snow had sealed the roads early on, so the villagers couldn't go out and could only slowly pass the winter with their loved ones. The cold wind roared in the sky as if it was taking lives that were about to end one by one. The entire process was like a reincarnation cycle. The winter this year seemed to be even colder than the winters before it, and the wind carried bone-piercing coldness. At night, it was especially cold. If a simple house didn't start a warm fire, it would be pierced by the coldness of the night wind. In a house in the western part of the village, there was a fire glowing in a window, giving off a trace of warmth. However, compared to the cold winter night, it seemed so insignificant. The cold wind roared through the air and surrounded the area. The wind formed a mini vortex that kicked up a large amount of snow into the air. The livestock in the village were all curled up and slightly trembling as they resisted the coldness of the wind. The sky was completely dark aside from the endless snow. If one looked at it for too long, they would feel lost. Wang Ping was sitting on a chair with a carving knife in his hand, and he was carving stroke by stroke. He was carving a trace of nostalgia at the end of his life. What he was carving was still his father, but his father's appearance was even older. This year Wang Ping often dreamed about his childhood and remembered drinking the bowls of medicine. The taste back then was bitter, but now it seemed somewhat sweet. What was sweet wasn't tea the taste but the warmth he felt. Qingyi was sitting beside him and looking at him. There was a trace of sadness in her tender gaze. Bursts of roaring cold wind came from the outside as if it wanted to rush in and take away Wang Ping, who was nearing his end. Wang Ping softly said, "After I die, burn these statues." He looked at the last statue in his hand. This was a half-finished product, and he was going to complete it. There was a huge wooden shelf on the side of the room. There were more than 100 statues placed on it, and every single one of them was of Wang Lin. Some of the statues had a statue of a small child beside them. The child had a satisfied smile while holding his father's hand, giving off a sense of attachment. Wang Ping looked at the carving in his hand and softly whispered, "Father, I have forgiven you long ago." A bright bolt of thunder closed in on the planet on this dark winter night. The planet's atmosphere instantly disintegrated as the thunderbolt descended and echoed across planet Renyun. At this moment, every snowflake trembled as if they were frozen in midair. Even the raging cold wind collapsed at this moment. At this moment, all of the cultivators on planet Renyun noticed this powerful aura, and the might of the thunder exploded in their ears. The Sun family's ancestor, Sun Shi, had been in closed-door cultivation for many years, but at this moment, his eyes lit up. In a flash, he arrived in the sky and looked up. His expression immediately changed. What powerful celestial spiritual energy and thunder! Sun Shi sucked in a breath of cold air and his pupils shrank. Behind him, the late-stage soul transformation cultivators came out one by one. There was a total of 8 people. Sun Qiming stood out and said, "Ancestor, it seems the person came with ill intent." The Ran and Zhao families also came out. However, they weren't as strong as the Sun family. After all, most of their experts had left a long time ago. Vast Water City, Wang Mansion Courtyard. Wang Lin put down the wine jug and slightly looked up. There was no color in his eyes, making it seem like he was a real old man, and they were very foggy. He only took one glance before lowering his head and drinking a mouthful of wine. A huge beast covered in lightning moved through the sky. 2 streams of hot air were flowing out of its nostrils, making it look extremely fierce, and there was a middle-aged man sitting on its back. The Thunder Celestial Temple's Thunder Taoist. His eyes were like lightning as he coldly looked at the earth. His divine sense instantly swept across the planet without any care. Vast Water City was included as well. However, for some reason, when his divine sense swept by, he didn't stop on Wang Lin at all. As his divine sense swept by, every cultivator on planet Renyun trembled. Along with the cultivators, all of the monsters also trembled under this divine sense, as if they were facing the might of the heavens. Even mortals felt the same, but they weren't aware of the reason. They only felt cold followed by a shock to their minds before they all passed out. At this moment, the entire planet became silent like it never had before. Shortly after, Thunder Taoist withdrew his divine sense and frowned. He searched the entire planet and didn't find anyone who met the requirements. When he withdrew his divine sense, the snow started falling once more, and the cold wind moved again. It has been too long. Maybe he has already left. That person sure is lucky. Thunder Taoist turned around to leave, but his eyes suddenly narrowed. His divine sense moved like lightning and locked onto a small mountain village on planet Renyun. When the divine sense swept by, Qingyi immediately turned pale and her body trembled. The spiritual energy inside her body also collapsed, and it took her a long time to somewhat recover. Wang Ping was startled. He raised his head to look at Qingyi and softly asked, "Qingyi, what is wrong?" Just as Qingyi was about to speak, her expression immediately changed, and she coughed out a mouthful of blood. A powerful divine sense pushed away the snow and wind and directly descended here. This divine sense was so powerful that it caused the entire earth to tremble. The thick layer of snow on the ground was suddenly shaken and launched into the air. Outside the room, the snow and wind that were just allowed to move collapsed once more. It looked like Wang Ping's residence was isolated from the world. Outside, the snow fell and wind blew, but everything was completely still near the house. It was as if all of the wind and snow around his house had been crushed. Qingyi's newly formed origin soul immediately struggled to release spiritual energy. This allowed her to take one step before this powerful divine sense, and she stood before Wang Ping. Her appearance was old, but her eyes revealed an unyielding struggle. Interesting, you didn't pass out, the cold voice echoed through the room. At the moment the voice appeared, the door was suddenly opened and a middle-aged man walked in. At the moment he walked in, Xianxia's face turned deathly pale. She could feel an unimaginable aura coming from the other party. This aura was very strong. It was like the might of the heavens and was impossible to resist. Before him, Xianxia felt like she was only an ant, as if with just one thought, this person could kill countless people like her. She would die without a grave, and never be able to be reborn. What really made her pupils shrink was that there were flashes of lightning coming from him. The lightning that moved around his body made him look like a thunder celestial. He seemed to casually step into the room, but the whole room started crackling. Lightning moved along the walls and made the entire house become a lighting cage. If one looked from outside, they would clearly see that Wang Ping's house was surrounded by lightning. The thunder beast was lying idly in the sky, and its eyes were filled with disdain. It was as if nothing in the world was worth its slightest attention. This was because it was a thunder beast, the holy beast of the old thunder celestial realm. Although its bloodline wasn't very pure and there was a very big gap between its ancestors, its pride came from its bones. Wang Ping put down the wood carving and stood next to Xianxia. He looked at the middle-aged man and calmly asked, "Who are you?" The current Wang Ping wasn't like a mortal at all. The calmness in his eyes wasn't fake. He was truly calm. He stood before Xianxia like a man that was holding up the world. All of this was due to his father, Wang Lin, 19 years of ordinary life, 8 years of travel, and more than 30 years of being a supreme ruler among mortals allowed him to have a heart that doesn't fear the heavens. He wasn't afraid of the heavens collapsing, much less of this cultivator. Xianxia stared at Wang Ping's eyes. At this moment, his figure was forever engraved in her mind. The tenderness in Xianxia's eyes became even stronger. She dispersed her cultivation. She stood next to her husband and calmly looked at the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man looked meaningfully at Wang Ping, and his eyes revealed a strange light. This gaze seemed to be able to see through Wang Ping. The reason his divine sense descended here was because all of the mortals had passed out when his divine sense swept by. This was because his cultivation was too strong and contained a hint of thunder, which made his divine sense felt like the might of the heavens for mortals. However, only this mortal before him didn't pass out, and it looked like this mortal didn't even notice that his divine sense had passed by. This was why it aroused his interest and his divine sense had locked on to this place. He slowly said, "Interesting. No wonder you didn't pass out. It was like this." Just at the moment the middle-aged man stepped into the room, in the faraway vast water city. Wang Lin was originally sitting in a chair holding a jug of wine when he suddenly stood up. The wine jug in his right hand shattered, and even the wine inside completely disintegrated. When Wang Lin raised his head, the eyes that hadn't showed any color for 70 years showed coldness that had never appeared before. This was even more terrifying than the time in the restaurant. The difference was heaven and earth and simply couldn't be compared. Referring to when Wang Ping was threatened inside the restaurant when they first entered the city. Aimlessly wishing for the like button for the video. Chapter 701 Cultivation. Thunder Taoist's gaze fell on Wang Ping's body. With interest in his eyes, he slowly said, "It turns out you're not human." Before he finished speaking, Wang Ping's body trembled, and at this moment, the shadow behind him suddenly moved. The moment the celestial guard puppet appeared, it threw a punch. This punch created a sonic boom. The sound almost replaced the roar of the thunder as it charged straight at Thunder Taoist. Thunder Taoist's eyes narrowed. He had seen that there was a puppet hidden very well inside Wang Ping's shadow, so he wasn't surprised. His hand formed a seal, lightning appeared in his hand, and his palm slammed toward the puppet. The celestial guard puppet landed directly on the lightning and penetrated it. The puppet was completely indifferent to the lightning, and its punch landed on Thunder Taoist's hand. A destructive force moved like crazy from the puppet's fist into Thunder Taoist's body. It was as if a storm was set off and rumbling sounds were coming from his body. A muffled sound echoed through the room as Thunder Taoist retreated several steps, but the numbness in his hand and the lightning dissipated quickly. His eyes revealed a strange light as he looked at the puppet and laughed. "Top quality puppet." The celestial guard puppet retreated 2 steps. Its eyes were cold. Lightning moved through its body as if snakes were dancing. As Thunder Taoist laughed, he took a step forward. Just as his foot landed, all of the lightning around the house gathered at his foot and followed his foot down as he mercilessly stomped the ground. The entire world seemed to collapse at this moment. The house instantly dissipated without any trace of it remaining. The lightning spread like crazy, and Wang Ping was right in the middle of it. The celestial guard puppet's eyes became even colder, and it threw another punch. However, there was too much lightning, so the celestial guard couldn't block all of it. The lightning was about to spread to Wang Ping's body. Xianxia's expression was unchanged. She pulled Wang Ping's hand and looked at him tenderly. As for Wang Ping, he didn't panic at all. It was as if even if Mount Tai collapsed, he wouldn't move, because he knew that his father would definitely come. In his eyes, his father was the strongest existence under the stars. No one stood a chance against him. Wang Ping's calmness attracted Thunder Taoist's gaze. After taking a careful look, he was startled. It seemed he had seen through some things. The lightning ripples darted straight toward Wang Ping, but just as it got close, an ancient voice echoed between the heavens and earth. This voice was very ancient, and at the moment it landed, it caused all of the lightning that was moving like dragons to freeze. The blue lightning seemed to be alive, and some of its thin branches were only 3 inches from Wang Ping, but at this moment all of them were frozen. The voice only said one word: "Stop!" A huge vortex appeared in the void, and a white-haired old man slowly walked out from the vortex. He stepped on the void and arrived before Wang Ping. He then casually pointed at the lightning frozen before Wang Ping. There was a series of crackling sounds as cracks immediately spread around this ripples of lightning. In an instant, this spread like crazy, and the ripples of lightning collapsed. This happened so suddenly that it caused Thunder Taoist to gasp. He retreated 2 steps and stared at Wang Lin with caution in his eyes. He wasn't able to see through this person's cultivation. He could see the person with his eyes, but with his divine sense, this old man seemed to not even exist. Wang Ping stared at the old man before him and softly said, "Dad." This call contained his decades of longing. The old man was Wang Lin. His originally muddied eyes were extremely cold. This kind of gaze hadn't appeared in his eyes in a long time. Wang Lin slowly said, "Thunder Celestial Temple Messenger." The celestial guard puppet moved next to Wang Lin in a flash, and coldly stared at Thunder Taoist. Thunder Taoist stared at Wang Lin with a very serious expression and asked, "Who are you, sir?" Wang Lin looked at his surroundings. Such a large commotion, and yet there was no movement from the villagers. It was obvious that all of them had been knocked unconscious by this person's divine sense. He waved his right hand, and a gentle light surrounded Wang Ping and Xianxia. At the same time, he took a step and instantly took Wang Ping and Xianxia away. The celestial guard followed closely after him. Thunder Taoist's expression turned gloomy. He let out a cold snort and also disappeared after a step. Wang Lin appeared above a vast uninhabited plain in the western part of planet Ranyun. Wang Ping and Xianxia also appeared with the gentle light surrounding them. At the same time, thunder flashed 1,000 feet before them, and Thunder Taoist appeared. The moment he appeared, a large amount of lightning appeared around him. At this moment, the entire sky darkened and bursts of lightning came from the clouds. It was very shocking. Thunder Taoist's voice was cold as he stared at Wang Lin and slowly said, "I don't care who you are. Leave behind the puppet, and this old man will spare the 3 of you." Wang Lin's eyes became even colder, and he calmly said, "Even if you let me go, I will not let you off. If I was a step slower, my son would have died by your hand. This matter has touched my bottom line. I don't care what your identity is. Today you'll die." His voice was filled with resolve, and killing intent suddenly appeared. At the same time, the celestial guard stepped forth and its entire body released a golden glow. It rushed forward like a man made of gold and threw a punch at Thunder Taoist. Thunder Taoist slapped his bag of holding, and a thunder net appeared in his hand. His hand formed a seal and threw the net. The net suddenly became large enough to cover the heavens and earth before it quickly began to contract toward the celestial guard. There were countless runes flashing on the thunder net. It was extremely tenacious, so the punch from the celestial guardian puppet wasn't able to shatter it. This old man is a messenger of the Thunder Celestial Temple. With your strength, even if you have this puppet, it will be impossible to kill me. Thunder Taoist didn't even look at the thunder net as his hand formed a seal. He then shot out a bolt of lightning toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression remained neutral and he didn't even dodge the bolt of lightning. As it closed in, he merely opened his mouth, and before Thunder Taoist's gaze of disbelief, Wang Lin devoured the lightning. Burst of lightning moved around Wang Lin's body, giving off crackling sounds. This tiny amount of lightning isn't enough. Wang Lin raised his right hand, and some of his origin soul immediately moved toward his right hand. A ball of thunder suddenly appeared in his palm. Although the ball of thunder was only the size of a fist, it caused a change in all the dark clouds in the sky, and made all of the lightning go crazy. In an instant, all of the lightning charged out toward the ball of thunder in Wang Lin's hand. This scene caused Thunder Taoist to gasp. What he saw was all the lightning falling down like rain toward this person's palm. This is true thunder. Wang Lin's voice was calm, and he waved his right hand. The ball of thunder gave off a thunderous rumble as it flew toward Thunder Taoist. Thunder Taoist's expression changed greatly, and he retreated without any hesitation. He slapped his bag of holding and immediately took out a black metal bar that was 3 feet long and 1 inch thick. There were countless runes carved on the stick, and there were dark red lines interlaced on it. At the moment Wang Lin's ball of thunder arrived, Thunder Taoist mercilessly stuck the bar into the ground. At the same time, both of his hands formed seals that landed on the bar. Thunder Taoist's eyes narrowed, and he shouted, "Thunder of heaven and earth, gather!" The ball of thunder closed in with a loud rumble but was immediately affected by the metal bar. It unexpectedly charged straight toward the metal bar, and then a powerful layer of lightning immediately surrounded it. As the lightning moved along the bar, all of the runes began to shine as if they were rapidly absorbing something. However, the ball of thunder was too strong. In the next breath, it broke, releasing a sound as if it couldn't hold it anymore, and cracks began to appear on it. But the dark red lines moved along the cracks, acting like a glue that prevented the metal bar from collapsing. The ball of thunder rumbled loudly, giving off a sense of majesty. Although a lot of its thunder had been absorbed by the metal, it still collided with the metal bar. At this moment, the cracks on the metal bar rapidly spread and seemed to extend all over the bar in an instant. Now the dark red line seemed to be covering the entire metal bar in order to keep it intact. Thunder Taoist looked at the scene before him with a look of disbelief. Just at this moment, the metal bar seemed to be unable to withstand the powerful lightning. After absorbing the entire ball of thunder, it trembled and suddenly collapsed before Thunder Taoist. It was as if thunderclaps had gone off and planet Ranyun trembled. Large amounts of mountain peaks had collapsed, causing a huge uproar. The metal bar collapsed and the powerful thunder exploded forth with Thunder Taoist at the center. He was forced to retreat 10 steps, and his face turned pale. He looked at Wang Lin and shouted, "You are the person who pretended to be a messenger of the Thunder Celestial Temple. Shumu! What exactly is your cultivation level?" The thunder power from the collapse of the metal bar caused the lightning surrounding the Celestial Guard to vanish, and the Celestial Guard walked out. Wang Lin calmly looked at Thunder Taoist and slowly said, "My cultivation level," he pondered as celestial spiritual energy suddenly erupted from his body. From foundation establishment climbing all the way up to soul formation. Then it continued to rise until it reached the peak of the late stage of soul transformation. This was not the end. As the celestial spiritual energy in his body burst forth, his cultivation level rose to the early stage of ascendant. As Wang Lin's body was being filled with celestial spiritual energy, Thunder Taoist's expression became even more ugly. Although he wouldn't consider a first-step cultivator a threat, this old man's cultivation level kept climbing, and he didn't know where it would ultimately end. The early stage of ascendant wasn't the end. As the celestial spiritual energy inside his body burst forth, his cultivation reached the mid-stage of ascendant. The celestial spiritual energy gradually calmed down and stayed at the mid-stage of ascendant. However, Wang Lin's aura became even stronger without any pause. This aura came from his domain. The limitation of mid-stage ascendant cultivation wasn't able to stop the increase in domain. Wang Lin's domain aura became stronger and stronger, causing Thunder Taoist's expression to become more gloomy. The increase in domain seemed like it was never going to stop and broke past what an ordinary mid-stage ascendant cultivator would have. At this moment, Wang Lin's white hair moved without any wind, and he began to ponder even harder. The powerful aura spread out from Wang Lin and dashed out in all directions. It slowly covered planet Ranyun. As his domain continued to spread, it reached the late stage of ascendant. This wasn't the final stopping point. It continued to increase. This caused Thunder Taoist's eyelid twitch non-stop, and he almost stopped breathing as his heart felt a sense of dread. When he felt the domain stop, he relaxed a bit and thought, a cultivator still stuck at the first step is easy to kill, however. Is he only this strong? A large mountain and river painting appeared in the sky. This painting used the sky as the canvas and the land as ink. It was as if a mirage had just suddenly appeared. An underworld river slowly appeared from the painting and flowed slowly. However, the underworld river suddenly trembled and went into Wang Lin through the top of this head. While Thunder Taoist was in complete shock, Wang Lin's domain, which was about to peak, suddenly increased and reached the peak of the late stage of ascendant. Wang Lin's domain stopped here. Thunder Taoist let out a sigh of relief. He was really afraid that Wang Lin's domain had broken through the first step. If that was really the case, then Thunder Taoist would be in for a gruesome fight today due to the assistance of the puppet. Thunder Taoist sneered. Just this tiny amount of cultivation and you dare to impersonate someone from the Thunder Celestial Temple? However, there were still some doubts in his heart. After all, that ball of thunder that Shu Mu used earlier was too shocking. This kind of thunder spell was not something an ordinary cultivator could have. He had only seen it from earth-ranked messengers in the Thunder Celestial Temple. Another thing that made him suspicious was that earlier, his divine sense couldn't even detect the existence of this person. Although right now he could clearly see the other party's cultivation level, he always had a feeling that there was a layer of mist covering this person. It was like trying to watch the moon in the water's reflection. Wang Lin raised his head. He didn't have enough celestial spiritual energy, so his cultivation had stabilized at the mid-stage of ascendant. However, his domain had reached such a high level, which even surprised Wang Lin, as this was outside his expectations. Moreover, he had only released his life and death domain. There were still the Thunder Might and Karma domain that he hadn't released. The reason Thunder Taoist wasn't able to see through Wang Lin's domain was precisely due to the Karma domain. After Wang Lin's domain evolved, it would be impossible to see through it unless one was a true second-step cultivator. After all, the yin and yang stage was merely a transition between the first and second step. Wang Ping stared at the father before him. At the moment his father's cultivation level increased, there was a slight fluctuation in his body. He clearly felt this fluctuation in his soul, and it made him even more sure of his speculation. Wishing for the like button for the video. Chapter Shut Up. Wang Ping's heart felt even more bitter. Beside him, Qing Yi held his hand. Her eyes were filled with tenderness as she said, Don't worry. No matter what you are, I'll accompany you. Wang Ping silently pondered and nodded. Thunder Taoist's expression was gloomy as he stared at Wang Lin and said, This old man will let you know what a real messenger of the Thunder Celestial Temple is. He raised his hand to point at the sky and shouted, Celestial Thunder Beast! Large amounts of thunder came from all directions and seemed to occupy the entire sky. The thunder condensed like crazy into a giant ball above Thunder Taoist. Then a thunderous rumble echoed throughout the planet. This sound was filled with majesty that would shock anyone who heard it. At this moment, the cultivators that had struggled under Thunder Taoist's divine sense all heard the thunderous rumble. All of the spiritual energy inside their bodies went crazy, and they almost couldn't control it. The ball of thunder trembled before suddenly shrinking until it turned into a noble and extraordinary thunder beast. This thunder beast was extremely brilliant, and it was discharging 2 bolts of lightning from its nostrils. Its large eyes revealed its pride as if it was the noblest being in the world. However, at the moment it looked at Wang Lin, it was startled and revealed a trace of confusion. Thunder Taoist looked at Wang Lin and calmly said, It is because of the thunder beast that one can be called a messenger of the Thunder Celestial Temple. The crime of pretending to be one is the genocide of your entire family. Wang Lin glanced at the thunder beast and slowly said, It can be called a thunder beast without a thunder horn. He slapped his bag of holding and the war chariot flew out and turned into a large amount of thunder. A destructive aura that could destroy the world began to spread. Then a huge beast slowly walked out from the thunder. It looked like a kilin, but it wasn't a kilin. There was a silver horn on its head that gave off the crackling sounds of lightning. At the moment it came out, Thunder Taoist's expression instantly changed. This was the most shock his heart had felt ever since he came to planet Ranyun. The shock was so great that all he could do was stare at the beast and without saying a word. The thunder beast from the thunder celestial temple above him also released thunder from all over its body, and its 4 hooves stomped the ground, making it appear extremely aggressive. The beast formed from the war chariot raised its head and roared at the sky. Rumbles of thunder came from the sky and bolts of lightning descended. This wasn't divine retribution, it was caused by the beast's spell. The thunder beast from the thunder celestial temple released thunder from its nose as if it couldn't withstand it anymore, and also began roaring. Wang Lin's thunder beast's eyes became cold. When thunder beasts met, if their masters weren't there to stop them, then they would enter a battle to the death. This was very different from other celestial beasts. A ray of thunder appeared under the foot of Wang Lin's thunder beast. Without any hesitation, it charged directly at the thunder beast from the thunder celestial temple. That thunder beast's eyes revealed a trace of panic. Its bloodline wasn't pure, but it could clearly feel that the other beast's thunder was extremely powerful. However, the dignity from its soul made it refuse to get trampled on, so it let out another roar and rushed up without flinching. Bursts of thunder echoed across the land as the 2 thunder beasts began their fierce battle. At this moment, it was as if the world was trembling and everything was dim. This is a silver-horned thunder beast. Thunder Taoist's gaze fell on the silver horn on Wang Lin's thunder beast, and his eyes were filled with shock. Having a thunder beast and as well versed with thunder spells, Thunder Taoist's face was filled with bitterness. If he hadn't been ordered to come and make sure that no messenger from the Thunder Celestial Temple had been here 70 years ago, then he would also thought that Wang Lin was a messenger from the Thunder Celestial Temple. The Thunder Celestial Temple did have silver-horned thunder beasts, but there were very few of them, and they were all in the hands of the administrative heaven-ranked messengers. If he could obtain a silver-horned thunder beast, his status in the Thunder Celestial Temple would improve a lot. His eyes revealed a trace of greed as he looked at the horn on the thunder beast. He then looked directly at Wang Lin and no longer hesitated. Both of his hands formed a seal, and then his 2 hands suddenly came together. When he pulled them apart, there was an intense flash, and a silver lightning sword formed. As lightning moved through the sword, Thunder Taoist's right hand formed a seal and pointed at the puppet. The silver longsword flew out from the Thunder Taoist toward the Celestial Guard puppet. As long as I kill this person, this ownerless thunder beast will be mine. After Thunder Taoist threw the flying sword, he charged out. His hands opened, and he shouted, "Thunder Celestial Realm Retribution." A ray of purple lightning suddenly appeared in his hand and turned into a net. It gave off a loud rumble as it flew out toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression was neutral, but his pupils shrank slightly. This Thunder Taoist was worthy of being an illusory yin cultivator. Not only was his body filled with celestial spiritual energy, but his control over thunder was shocking. I fear this person's domain is also related to thunder. Wang Lin's eyes became cold as his right hand touched the bag of holding, and the golden celestial brush immediately appeared in his hand. Wang Lin waved the brush in the air, and a symbol suddenly appeared. He didn't stop but continued at an extremely fast pace, and suddenly drew 7 strokes. 7 strokes was his limit. He had to divide a portion of his origin soul for each stroke, and with 7 strokes, he had already divided his origin soul 7 times. After Wang Lin's origin soul absorbed the ancient thunder dragon, it changed. Now that 7 portions of his origin soul were inside the symbol no longer emitted a golden glow but a white glow filled with thunder. This time, it didn't only emit the pressure of a celestial, the pressure of heavenly thunder was present as well. At the moment the symbol was complete, there were crackling sounds coming from the lightning moving through it. A unimaginable destructive force exploded like a storm from the symbol. This pressure was the true might of heavenly thunder. It was not something average thunder spells could compare to. The moment this might of heavenly thunder appeared, even the 2 thunder beasts that were battling not far away stopped and looked over. With their awareness for thunder, they clearly felt that thunder contained a trace of ancient heavenly thunder. This ancient heavenly thunder came from the ancient thunder dragon. The ancient thunder dragon once controlled thunder for the heavens and gained the power to control heavenly thunder. After Wang Lin devoured the ancient thunder dragon, it gradually fused with his origin soul and he gained that power. It could even be said that the thunder from Wang Lin's origin soul was above all other thunder in the world. If Thunder Taoist used other spells, he would be fine, but if he faced Wang Lin with thunder spells, there was no chance for him to win. Even though his cultivation level was higher, it wasn't high enough. He would have to be in the real second step to win. Wang Lin had absolute superiority when it came to thunder, and there was no thunder spell in the world that could injure him. In other words, Wang Lin was a living thunder dragon. After drawing the 7-stroke symbol, the brush gently tapped the symbol, and it flew toward Thunder Taoist. Thunder Taoist's expression was gloomy. He clenched his teeth and pushed the thunder's palm to meet the symbol. Boom! The symbol collapsed, carrying endless force along with 7 portions of Wang Lin's origin soul, and directly imprinted on Thunder Taoist. The purple lightning in his hand immediately disintegrated, and he sprayed out a large mouthful of blood before retreating like crazy. Boom, 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 boom. Every explosion was a portion of origin soul echoing inside Thunder Taoist's body. He continued to cough out blood as he continued to retreat. When the final portion of origin soul finished echoing, Thunder Taoist's face was pale, and he had already retreated 1,000 feet. The aghast in his eyes was monstrous. This was the first time in his life that he was defeated by a thunder spell. He even had a feeling that if he were to compare to his enemy, this Shu Mu was the real messenger of the thunder celestial realm, and he was the fake. This sense of confusion made him take a deep breath, and his eyes became even more gloomy. Wang Lin sighed in his heart. This Thunder Taoist was indeed an illusory yin cultivator. After being hit by the symbol, he was only injured, and his core wasn't affected. The other party's celestial spiritual energy was too strong, and there were even traces of the origin energy mixed in. When the thunder entered Thunder Taoist's body, it was constantly being dissolved by this force. You are very strong. I guess you were in seclusion in planet Ranyun in order to comprehend your domain. If given another 100 years, perhaps you would become even stronger than me. If your cultivation level was same as mine, I would die without a doubt, but unfortunately, your cultivation stopped at the first step. Thunder Taoist took a deep breath, and all his injuries immediately recovered. However, Wang Lin could clearly feel that there seemed to be a bit less of the world origin energy in the other body. Thunder Taoist said, with a heavy tone, I'll ask you one more time. Hand over the silver horn thunder beast and the puppet, and I'll let you go. Otherwise, you will definitely die today. The spell I used was only a normal spell, but if you remain stubborn, I'll use an origin energy spell exclusive to second step cultivators. You won't be able to resist. Wang Lin's expression was calm as his right hand touched his bag of holding and a large sword appeared in his grasp. He calmly said, attack. Let me experience an illusory yin cultivator's origin energy spell. Whether it was the Wan family's ancestor, or Xianxia, or Thunder Taoist, Wang Lin found one thing in common between the 3 of them, and that was the origin energy. It was obvious that this origin energy was the key of second-step cultivators. This battle could be said to be Wang Lin's first time personally battling an illusory yin cultivator. The powerful recovery ability of an illusory yin cultivator made Wang Lin's heart gloomy. Thunder Taoist's gaze went past Wang Lin and landed on Wang Ping and Qing Yi. His eyes revealed a mysterious light, and he slowly said, You gave up comprehending your domain for a dead person. This has puzzled this old man greatly. Wang Lin suddenly looked up, revealing bloodshot eyes. He raised the sword in his hand and coldly said, Shut up! Wishing for the like button for the VIDEO, hoping to double the likes on the VIDEO. In the meantime, everyone, throw your spare ones here. Chapter 703, Spell of the Second Step. Thunder Taoist's eyes lit up. For the first time he used a spell with his eyes to look at Wang Ping. Under this gaze, Wang Ping's body felt cold. It was as if his body had no secrets at all and was completely seen through by the other party. Wang Lin's power had touched Thunder Taoist's bottom line. Unless it was his last resort, he didn't want to use an origin energy spell, because origin energy was simply too scarce. With his cultivation level, unless it was a life and death situation, he was unwilling to use an origin energy spell. After all, the more times he used it, the longer he would stay at the illusory yin stage. If he couldn't break through after 1,000 years, his cultivation would forever stop progressing. He had less than 300 years left, so he wasn't willing to casually use origin energy spells. What he feared the most was Wang Lin's thunder. Thunder Taoist deduced that the thunder was related to this person's domain. If he could break this person's domain, perhaps he could win without using an origin spell. Let this old man see once more. So it was originally a resentful soul. I thought there was some problem. How could a mortal resist my divine sense? At first I thought it was the puppet, but it looks like I was wrong. Thunder Taoist laughed, and there was a hint of malice in his words. However, his pupils shrank, and he stopped what he was saying. His gaze toward Wang Ping revealed a powerful sense of fear. This is sword energy. This sword energy is too terrifying. Thunder Taoist gasped and immediately retreated with his scalp feeling numb. That spell just now allowed him to see the 2 rays of sword energy inside Wang Ping's body. Madman. This person is a madman. He actually used this kind of sword energy to form flesh for a mere soul fragment. This old man can fight this time. I need to quickly retreat. Thunder Taoist's body trembled, and without any hesitation he quickly retreated toward the Thunder Beast. The 2 strands of sword energy inside Wang Ping completely frightened him. Wang Ping silently pondered as he stared at his father's back, and he didn't speak for a long time. Wang Lin's eyes were bloodshot as he stared at Thunder Taoist, who was attempting to escape. If it wasn't for the fact that Ling Tianhu's sword energies weren't in his body, he would have released them all to kill this person. At this moment, without any hesitation, he waved his hand and chopped down. A portion of the origin energy that merged with his origin soul entered the sword. As Thunder Taoist retreated, his expression changed once more. He felt a terrifying aura descend from the heavens. Origin energy spell? How can you use an origin energy spell? As Thunder Taoist's expression changed, he felt a sense of life and death crisis. Thunder Taoist was inferior to the Huan family's ancestor. After all, the Huan family's ancestor's cultivation level was originally at the early stage of Nirvana Scryer. Even though his cultivation level fell, he was still much more powerful than any ordinary yin and yang cultivator. Feeling a sense of crisis, his finger pointed between his eyebrows and his eyes released a white light. This white light was gentle, and it contained a sliver of world origin energy. In an instant, a portion of origin energy came out from Thunder Taoist's body and charged out from the top of his head. At this moment, the entire planet trembled, and a faintly discernible aura filled the world. Thunder Taoist's face was pale. It was clear that using an origin energy spell was a huge burden for him. Thunder Taoist shouted, "Origin energy thunder furnace!" More origin energy came out from his head, and then the world changed. This was a real change and not just some illusion. The sky slowly descended and everything began to sink. The earth began to rise. There were bursts of rumbling sounds as the ground under Thunder Taoist continued to shake. The change of the sky and earth completed in an instant. At this moment there was no longer sky or earth, only a huge blue furnace. The sky and earth had turned into a giant furnace. The sky was the lid while the earth was the body. This was an origin energy spell. At this moment, the Thunder Beast from the Thunder Celestial Temple let out a roar. It dragged its wounded body, turned into a bolt of lightning, and landed on the furnace. Soon, countless carvings gradually appeared on his originally blank furnace. They were carvings of the Thunder Beast. "Shumu, this is this old man's origin energy spell. Let us see which of us will live." The world had been turned into a furnace, and at this moment Thunder Taoist's voice was like the heavens' might. Thunder rumbled inside the giant furnace and countless lightning bolts appeared everywhere in this boundless world. The furnace formed by the world was like an oven, and it began refining everything inside as more bolts of thunder appeared. The sword in Wang Lin's hand simply fell. The strange aura that now contained the law of the world filled the entire furnace. What it was cutting wasn't any material object but the law of this world. Bolts of thunder continued to descend on Wang Lin. This thunder wasn't born from the heavens but from Thunder Taoist's spell. Aside from thunder, they also contained his Tao. When the heavenly chop landed, the furnace turned illusory to Wang Lin's eyes. There were strands of blue lines surrounding the area, and it was these strands that formed the furnace. The sword chopped down and the blue strands quickly collapsed. Thunder Taoist's muffled groan came from the world, and at the same time, more origin energy rushed out of his body to maintain the integrity of the furnace. Shortly after, even more Tao thunder descended. Every bolt that fell on Wang Lin caused his body to tremble. If it wasn't for his origin soul changing, this much Tao thunder would have caused his body to vanish without a trace. Wang Lin's eyes became even colder. At this moment, the celestial guard puppet, which was also inside the furnace, began waving its fist like crazy. It bombarded the entire area. making the entire world seem to tremble. Although the thunder here was strong, the flesh of the puppet was even stronger, so the thunder couldn't damage it at all. Every punch from the puppet was equal to an illusory yin cultivator S attack as they landed on the furnace. This was the biggest threat to Thunder Taoist. Almost like a response to the celestial guard puppet, the thunder beast roared. Its body gave off a bright light, and then a sliver of gold came from its silver horn. Countless thunderbolts flew from its body and spread across the area. The thunder caused countless rumbles and made the furnace shake even harder. Thunder Taoist's muffled groan echoed once more, and a large amount of origin energy flew out of his body once more into the large furnace. Refined for this old man. Wishing for the like button for the video. Thinking nonsense. Wishing for the like button for the video. Chapter 704, A Reincarnation Cycle ends. A hideous voice echoed. At the moment the Tao thunder descended inside the furnace, a purple flame appeared. In an instant, a sea of flames appeared inside the furnace. The combination of thunder and fire was much more powerful. Wang Lin's expression was gloomy. The origin energy in his body couldn't compare to the old man's, so he couldn't display the full power of the heavenly chop. It was just as the Huan family's ancestor had said. If Wang Lin was at the second step, or even at the yin and yang stage, the power of his heavenly chop would increase exponentially. His eyes lit up as he put away the celestial sword and looked at the thunder beast. Wang Lin bit the tip of his finger and used his blood to draw a very complex symbol. This symbol was filled with vicissitude, as if it had existed for a very long time. The moment this symbol appeared, the thunder beast was startled, and it turned its big head toward Wang Lin. Third seal, open! Wang Lin waved his hand, and the symbol penetrated all the thunder and lightning before imprinting on the thunder beast's forehead. The thunder beast's body trembled. Its face revealed a painful expression, and then it let out a startling roar. As its body trembled, a row of thorns came out from its back. These ferocious thorns gave off a cold glint, and intense lightning zipped between them. A terrifying aura suddenly appeared inside the furnace. This aura contained a heaven-defying might. If it dared to defy the heavens, then there was no need to mention this origin energy spell. The thunder beast's body suddenly grew several times bigger. The silver lightning that was moving all over the thunder beast turned black. The black lightning carried a destructive aura as it suddenly charged out from the thunder beast's body. The beast let out another roar. Then it flew into the sky and complex beast language came out of its mouth. This made the thunder beast from the thunder celestial temple start trembling. It came out from the furnace and lied down on the ground in submission, not daring to look up. Previously it felt that the other thunder beast was only a bit stronger than itself, but its pride made it dare to fight. However, a deep fear came from its soul this time. The other thunder beast had suddenly changed into its ancestor, and that was something it couldn't resist. After the thunder beast had the third seal released, its body was covered in lightning. At this moment, the amount of lightning reached its peak, and the black lightning began to spread out. A black thunderstorm expanded like crazy. At this moment, the celestial guard's body began to release a golden light. The golden light slowly turned red and then orange, and the power it contained became even stronger. Boom! The thunderstorm covered the entire furnace and countless cracks suddenly appeared, and these cracks continued to expand. Boom! The celestial guard's punch landed on the furnace, causing even more cracks to appear. The powerful force spread everywhere, and Thunder Taoist's origin energy surged into the furnace like crazy. He had no time to feel pain over the use of origin energy, because this was the most difficult battle he had since becoming a messenger of the Thunder Celestial Temple. It was a life-and-death battle. However, the speed at which his origin energy was entering the furnace couldn't match the combined power of the Thunder Beast after the third seal had been released and the Celestial Guard puppet. At this moment of crisis, Wang Lin's eyes became cold. He didn't pick up the big sword but raised his finger and mercilessly chopped down. Heavenly chop. Rumble! An indescribable explosion echoed the heavens and earth. The giant furnace suddenly exploded. There was black lightning on each of the fragments, and then there was another series of explosions as those fragments exploded once more. Wang Lin's expression was deathly pale. After using 2 heavenly chops, he was really low on origin energy, almost to the point of his cultivation level falling. If he was missing even a sliver more, his cultivation level probably would have fallen. His body flickered and the world around him returned to normal. Wang Lin took a deep breath. Although his face was pale, his eyes were even colder than before. Thunder Taoist's body appeared in the air. He coughed out a large mouthful of blood and directly turned around to flee. He was afraid. He had fought countless battles, but never had encountered something so strange. Although the enemy was merely a first-step cultivator, all of the spells and treasures he possessed made his scalp numb, and those 2 rays of sword energy made him only hate himself for not being able to run. Away sooner! The Celestial Guard puppet quickly chased after Thunder Taoist. The Thunder Beast let out a roar and also closely followed after the Celestial Guard. They gradually disappeared over the horizon. Wang Ping softly said, "Dad is what he said true." In the battle just now, Thunder Taoist didn't include Wang Ping and Qing Yi in his spell, as he didn't dare to provoke those 2 rays of sword energy inside Wang Ping. Wang Lin's expression was extremely pale. He slowly turned around and stared at Wang Ping. After a long time he nodded. Wang Ping stared at his father and faintly smiled. This smile was really carefree, and he calmly said, "Dad, is this the real reason you didn't let me cultivate, and why I still don't have a child with Qing Yi? Because I am already dead." Wang Lin's eyes revealed sadness as he looked at Wang Ping and softly said, "You are not dead." Wang Ping shook his head and smiled. "Dad, you taught me that if I meet a mountain, I can climb it. If I meet a river, I can cross it. Even if I meet the heavens, I can walk defyingly against them. Dad, thank you. In fact, I already had the answer to this question a long time ago, but I didn't dare to face it, to confirm it. Why I can cultivate? Why I can have an heir? Why I have never gotten sick in more than 70 years? I have never even truly felt tired before. Why I can clearly feel that my end has arrived while my body feels nothing. I finally understand now." Wang Ping looked at Wang Lin. His smile revealed his carefree nature, but there was a hint reluctance in it. "Dad, I, Wang Ping, don't have a mother, just a father. Thank you for accompanying me." Wang Ping felt his eyes water up, but he found that he had no tears. "It turns out I don't even have tears." Wang Ping bitterly looked at his father and softly said, "Dad, take care. Ping heir failed to keep this promise of accompanying you for generations." The sadness in Wang Lin's eyes became even stronger. After Lu Mei handed Wang Ping to him, he had fed Wang Ping the medicine and used his own thunder to help heal him. However, in the end he found out that Wang Ping had died a long time ago. The life of a mortal was very short, and it was the same for a resentful spirit. What existed was only a sliver of soul that was surrounded by resentment, so it couldn't return back to the reincarnation cycle. This was the true form of a resentful spirit. What Lu Mei gifted Wang Lin was his soul fragment. This soul fragment couldn't cultivate because it was unable to cultivate. If tried to cultivate, the resentful aura would activate and would completely vanish. Wang Ping couldn't cultivate in secret from Wang Lin because his body was made of sword energy. Using 1 ray of sword energy to form flesh and another ray of sword energy to protect the soul, this was Wang Ping. This growth was done merely with a spell. More than 70 years of life, all of Wang Ping's growth was due to Wang Lin's celestial spell. Wang Lin whispered, "Your promise will come true, believe me." Wang Ping looked at his father as he held Qing Yi's hand and softly said, "Dad, let Qing Yi go." He turned around and looked meaningfully at Qing Yi. He revealed a gentle smile and softly said, "If there is an afterlife, if I reincarnate, I'll come and find you, Qing Yi." As tears fell down Qing Yi's cheeks, she opened her mouth as if she wanted to say something. Wang Ping shook his head as he looked up at the sky and softly said, "Dad, Qing Yi, I am leaving." Wang Ping's eyes revealed a powerful sense of reluctance. He wanted to be with Qing Yi and accompany his father forever. Forever. In a trance, he seemed to have returned to his childhood. In the 19 years he stayed at the mountain village, he drank the medicine and revealed a happy smile. "Dad, the medicine is very bitter." He seemed to see his father using a spell to disperse the resentful aura in his body every night. He could see that the medicine wasn't absorbed by his body but by his soul. Because his body couldn't absorb medicine, it was as if he could see that his body was a ray of golden sword energy. He could also see that there was another ray of golden sword energy wrapped around his soul. No wonder I always dreamed I was in a golden world during my childhood. Wang Ping's eyes closed. At this moment, his body released a golden glow and turned into a ray of sword energy that stood beside Wang Lin. Following that, another ray of sword energy appeared. All that was left was a ball of white light quietly floating there. There was a black thread moving inside the white ball. This black thread was the last sliver of resentment. Wang Lin stared at ball of white light for a long time before raising his hand and gently wiping the ball. That black thread disappeared. After experiencing one reincarnation cycle, all of Wang Lin's child's resentment was finally dispersed. Tears came out of his eyes as he gently held the ball of light as if he was holding the baby from back then. The wind started blowing, and the ball of light showed signs of dissipating. But Wang Lin didn't let go. Wang Lin knew that if he let go, then the purified Wang Ping would return to the reincarnation cycle. Ping your promise will come true. Wang Lin took the ball of light and pressed it between his eyebrows. It entered the heaven-defying bead and rested next to Li Muan's nascent soul. From now on, your mother is Wang Lin turned around and walked into the distance. Dad Qingyi knelt on the ground. The sadness in her eyes wasn't any weaker than Wang Lin's. Qingyi's eyes were filled with tears as she softly said, Dad, I have an appointment with Wang Ping. Even if it's to the afterlife, I'll accompany him. Take me away with you, even if it only is a soul fragment. I'll go anywhere as long as I can accompany Wang Ping. Dad, it was you who told me to always accompany Wang Ping. You regret it? No regrets. Wang Lin left, and along with him was Qingyi's regretless soul. Under the sunset, his old body gradually changed. His hair was no longer gray and turned black. His slightly hunched back slowly became straight. The Wang Lin from 70 years ago slowly walked toward the void. A reincarnation cycle ends. Wishing for the like button for the video, hoping to charge through the trending charts for the video this month. Chapter 705 Second Celestial Guard. Not far away, the Thunder Beast was still lying on the ground, and its body was trembling involuntarily. After seeing Wang Lin's figure disappear into the void, it hesitated before following Wang Lin. In the void, Wang Lin's black hair moved without any wind. There were no joy or sorrow in his eyes. It was as if he had seen through everything in this world. Wang Ping was indeed the only one who had gone through a reincarnation cycle. Wang Lin himself did as well. His cultivation had broken through the early stage of Ascendant and reached the mid-stage of Ascendant. His domain also broke through to the late stage of Ascendant during this reincarnation cycle. With enough celestial jades, Wang Lin was confident in becoming a true late-stage Ascendant powerhouse. When it comes to yin and yang cultivators, while I can win against illusory yin cultivators, the battles will be extremely difficult, and every battle will expend precious origin energy. Right now my origin energy has already reached its bottom line, so not even slightest bit can be used anymore. As for corporeal yang cultivators, I'm no match. If I meet one, I must quickly escape. Wang Lin began to ponder. The difference between the first step and the second step is indeed a big gap that can be easily crossed. Even if my cultivation reaches the late stage of Ascendant, without origin energy, I'm no match for yin and yang cultivators. But how do I obtain origin energy? Wang Lin stepped toward the void and quickly broke through the atmosphere, charging into the stars toward where the celestial puppet and Thunder Beast went. Behind him, the Thunder Beast from the Thunder Celestial Temple still followed him, but kept a certain distance. The most important matters now are to obtain enough celestial jades and then find a way to increase my origin energy. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and revealed a decisive gaze. Among the stars he slapped his bag of holding, and the star compass immediately flew out. He sat on the silver light and flew among the stars. The Thunder Beast behind him was startled, then it turned into a bolt of lightning and quickly chased after Wang Lin. Wang Lin already knew that the Thunder Beast was following him. He traveled at full speed toward where the Celestial Guard was. The silver light stretched across space as it moved through the stars like a rainbow. Shortly after, Wang Lin's eyes became cold and he heard sounds of explosions. Not far away, Thunder Taoist was in an extremely sorry state. He had a bolt of lightning in his hand as he fought with the celestial puppet, but he was constantly being pushed back. Beside him was the Thunder Beast that had its third seal released. It let out a roar and charged like crazy, its horn releasing powerful bolts of lightning. This made Thunder Taoist have to quickly dodge every time, making his face was pale and show a trace of despair. Thunder Taoist saw the silver light approaching from the distance, and when he noticed it was Wang Lin, the despair in his eyes became even stronger. He had already used a majority of theurgin energy in his body, and if he used any more, his cultivation level would fall and he would never be able to reach the corporeal yang stage. Also, he was very scared, especially of those two rays of sword energy. Wang Lin's eyes were cold. He had to kill this Thunder Taoist. This person was a messenger of the Thunder Celestial Temple. If he was not killed and was allowed flee, then there would be endless troubles in the future. Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding and 7 treasured swords flew out, forming the 7-star sword formation. These swords whistled toward Thunder Taoist. The celestial guard puppet gave off an orange light as he threw a punch at the Thunder Taoist, pushing him back. The horn of the Thunder Beast behind him gave off a sizzling sound, and then a bolt of lightning charged directly at Thunder Taoist's back. Thunder Taoist's expression turned gloomy. Along the way here, this beast and puppet constantly attacked him like this, making it impossible to escape at full speed. Also, although he could travel through space without the Thunder Beast, his speed was obviously slower. At this moment, the 7-star sword formation arrived and surrounded Thunder Taoist. As the sword energy rushed at this body, Thunder Taoist took out a jade and crushed it. After crushing it, thunder and lightning flew out all around him, forming a barrier. The 7-star sword formation stabbed the barrier, causing a series of explosions to go off. The thunder barrier shook violently. Inside, Thunder Taoist stared at Wang Lin and urgently said, "Fellow cultivator Shu, I was reckless in this matter. But why push it so far? I am a member of the Thunder Celestial Temple, so if fellow cultivator kills me, you will find it hard to move around in the Al Heaven star system. If I don't kill you, I'll still find it hard to move in the Al Heaven star system," said Wang Lin with a cold voice. Then he slapped his bag, causing the 1 billion soul flag to appear. The 30-foot wide flag gave off ghostly wails that could shake one's origin soul. With one shake, all of the soul fragments flew out. Among them, not to mention soul transformation soul fragments, there were even some ascendant soul fragments. After the 4th soul returned, although the number of ordinary soul fragments still hadn't reached 1 billion, the flag's current power was even stronger than it was back on planet Suzaku. After all, there were simply too many soul fragments of powerful cultivators. Countless soul fragments flew out and surrounded the area. Then the powerful soul fragments all fused together, forming 3 ultimate primary souls. The first primary soul was a huge black Qilin. Its eyes gave off a cold gaze and were extremely fierce. The second primary soul was a 30-foot-tall black giant. His body gave off rich soul energy and released an aura that could shake one's soul. The third primary soul was a small black needle. It was almost invisible. Even if one checked with their divine sense, they would find it difficult to notice its existence. Its main body was the most mysterious 4th soul. These 3 ultimate primary souls were the fusion of all the soul fragments inside the flag. This was the most powerful spell Wang Lin could use with the 1 billion soul flag right now. Wang Lin shouted, "Kill!" The 3 ultimate primary souls immediately rushed up and began attacking the thunder barrier along with the celestial guard puppet, the Thunder Beast, and the 7-star sword formation. Thunder Taoist's pupils shrank, then his expression turned pale and his despair became even stronger. The puppet and Thunder Beast were already difficult for him to deal with, and now 3 powerful souls had appeared. Thunder Taoist believed he would be killed within a few breaths of time after the barrier was broken. "Shumu, don't force me. All messengers of the Thunder Celestial Temple have a life-saving spell. At most, I will sacrifice my lifespan." Thunder Taoist's eyes were bloodshot as he stared at Wang Lin. He felt very bitter in his heart. Using that spell wouldn't be a big deal if he had enough origin energy. But if he didn't, it would consume his lifespan. In that case, not only would his lifespan shorten, his cultivation would fall down to the soul transformation stage due to his origin energy being used up. Most importantly, he had no confidence that he could hurt Wang Lin with the life-saving treasure. Those 2 rays of sword energy scared him the most and made his scalp numb. Once he used the life-saving spell, he feared that the only road left for him would still be death. Wang Lin's eyes were calm as he slowly said, "It was you who forced me and not me who forced you." Thunder Taoist bitterly said, "There is no undissolvable hate between us. What do I have to do for you to let me go?" Wang Lin stared at Thunder Taoist inside the barrier. He pondered for a moment before saying, "Recognize me as your master and let me leave an imprint on you." Thunder Taoist pondered. At this moment, the barrier around him was shaking violently due to the attacks from outside and was about to collapse. Thunder Taoist clenched his teeth and said, "Okay, this old man agrees." His heart turned vicious and he thought, this person's cultivation level is not higher than mine. Even if he imprints this old man as his slave, it can last for too long. Once I recover my cultivation, I'll escape and report him to the Thunder Celestial Temple. Then the Thunder Celestial Temple will send people to kill him to appease my anger. Wang Lin slowly said, open the barrier. Thunder Taoist hesitated for a bit. The barrier was about to crumble. His eyes lit up as he waved his right hand and the barrier immediately disappeared. At the moment it disappeared, Thunder Taoist's heart jumped. The 7-star sword formation was right next to him and the Celestial Guard puppet's fist stopped 3 inches away from him. The Thunder Beast's eyes gave off lightning that released popping sounds, and its eyes were not kind. The 3 ultimate primary souls circled around and occasionally directed cold gazes at Thunder Taoist. As Wang Lin stared at Thunder Taoist, his eyes revealed a mysterious light. He slapped his bag of holding and the restriction flag flew out. Wang Lin waved the flag and all the restrictions flew out, forming a golden restriction formation before Wang Lin. His left hand formed a seal and pointed at the restriction formation. The restriction formation gave off a bright golden glow before flying directly at Thunder Taoist. Thunder Taoist didn't dodge, but clenched his teeth and let it enter between his eyebrows. The restriction formation penetrated his body and went directly toward his origin soul. The moment it came into contact the origin soul, the restriction formation melted and completely surrounded his origin soul. When he saw this, he thought, this restriction is somewhat strange, but no restriction can withstand the impact of origin energy. Once his old man's origin energy has recovered, I'll break the formation. This is only the first step of the restriction. There is a second step. After Wang Lin finished speaking, he stepped onto the star compass and flew off into the distance. Thunder Taoist had to follow. With so many dangers around him, he had to follow. From far away, the Thunder Beast from the Thunder Celestial Temple saw this. It hesitated for a bit and then turned around to escape. Wang Lin's cold snort came from the void, causing the Thunder Beast to tremble. It became too scared to escape, so it followed Wang Lin. When he came chasing after Thunder Taoist, Wang Lin noticed that there was a gray planet not far away. This was an abandoned planet. There wasn't any spiritual energy coming from the planet, and it looked like there was no life on it either. Wang Lin's speed was very fast as he charged directly at this planet. Shortly after, he arrived above the gray planet. The earth was gray and storms raged across the planet. It was also covered in deadly gas that would immediately kill mortals. After landing on the planet, Wang Lin's right foot stomped the ground, and after a loud rumble, a ravine appeared. Wang Lin's finger formed a sword and shot out a ray of sword energy that quickly moved inside the ravine. Soon, a new cave was carved out by the sword energy. Wang Lin stepped into the cave and Thunder Taoist was forced inside as well. This cave was very large, with a total of 4 rooms and a big hall in the middle. Sword energy still lingered on the walls. There was also ash falling from the walls. Wang Lin waved his sleeves and a gust of wind blew all the debris outside the cave. When Wang Lin turned around to look at Thunder Taoist, his eyes revealed an indiscernible and mysterious light, and he said, after the second restriction, I want to kill you. Thunder Taoist silently pondered and looked at the dangers still around him. After a long time, he nodded. Okay. Wang Lin sat down in the lotus position, and both his hands formed many seals. One by one, restrictions flew out and fell on Thunder Taoist's body. At the same time, Wang Lin said, when I place my imprint, you must not resist. Otherwise, don't blame me for not keeping my promise. Thunder Taoist remained quiet and closed his eyes. He sneered inside his heart. I would like to see what kind of restrictions you can place. Wait until this old man recovers his origin energy, then I can easily break any restrictions. Wang Lin's expression revealed a trace of gloominess. Only by refining the old man into a celestial guard could he feel completely safe. In his eyes, Thunder Taoist met the requirements to be refined into a celestial guard. Also, with the Thunder Beast outside, by combining the two, the success rate would increase by a lot. Moreover, even if it failed, it wouldn't matter, as there would be no loss for Wang Lin. Wang Lin spat out a mouthful of origin energy that turned into countless symbols. Each symbol fell on Thunder Taoist one by one. Thunder Taoist suddenly opened his eyes and stared at Wang Lin. After a long time, his heart let out a cold snort and he closed his eyes once more. He allowed Wang Lin's origin energy to freely enter his body. Just at the moment his eyes closed, Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he slapped his bag of holding. The soul lasher appeared in his hand and he viciously whipped Thunder Taoist. Thunder Taoist opened his eyes once more and shouted, "What are you doing?" Wang Lin's speed was too fast, and the whip was even faster. At the moment Thunder Taoist spoke, the whip hit his body. It wasn't T just once. At the moment it landed on his body, the soul lasher was waved 6 times. In an instant, Thunder Taoist was hit 6 times. As the sounds of the whip echoed, Thunder Taoist's body trembled. His expression turned pale and his eyes dimmed. Behind him, his origin soul was knocked 7 feet away from his body. He was just about to retaliate when the celestial guard stepped forth and the thunder beast roared. The 3 ultimate primary souls, ghostly wails, also echoed in the cave. At this moment, the 7-star sword formation emitted powerful sword energy, and the 7 swords fused into one and chopped down. The 7 evil beasts inside the swords let out a unified roar, preventing Thunder Taoist's attempt to return to his body. Above Thunder Taoist's origin soul was the restriction Wang Lin had placed earlier. It took the form of a lightning net that trapped Thunder Taoist's origin soul. The video schedule for first is up, and I ask all friends not to be stingy. Remember to share Leo. If you're capable, friends, please be prepared to support Leo with a like. You are listening to a completely free audiobook on the Leo Audio YouTube channel. If you enjoy the story, please like the video to motivate the channel. Support Leo with a cup of coffee through the description link or on the screen. If you want to hear any other stories, just comment and let Leo know. Thank you very much for watching the video. Thunder Taoist shouted, "Shu Mu, you didn't keep your promise." Wang Lin's gaze was calm. Thunder Taoist was seriously injured, and his body was almost devoid of any energy. In order to survive, he had to agree to Wang Lin's condition, and doing so gave Wang Lin a very good opportunity to refine a celestial guard. The first requirement for refining a puppet was that the person being refined must be willing. Wang Lin calmly said, "I will keep my promise, but this second step won't work unless you are willing. In order to prevent any accidents, I had to make your origin soul come out." His right hand moved, and the celestial guard and Thunder Beast immediately surrounded Thunder Taoist. If Thunder Taoist attempted anything, they would attack without any hesitation. Without looking at Thunder Taoist's origin soul, Wang Lin grabbed Thunder Taoist's body. After taking the bag of holding, he spat out another mouthful of origin energy that surrounded Thunder Taoist's body. Thunder Taoist's origin soul was extremely gloomy as he coldly looked at Wang Lin. He wanted to see what kind of imprint this Shu Mu was going to leave. Time slowly passed. Wang Lin continued to spit out origin energy. The origin energy entered Thunder Taoist's body like bolts of thunder. In a flash, several days passed by. Thunder Taoist's body continued to wither until it was almost just skin and bones. However, thunder moved inside his body, and there was also flashes of copper-colored light which looked extremely bizarre. Thunder Taoist's origin soul watched intently every day, and his eyes were filled with shock the whole time. At the beginning he didn't understand what Wang Lin wanted to do, but after a few days, he suddenly understood. This Shu Mu was going to refine him into a puppet. The shock in his eyes turned into horror, especially when he looked at the celestial guard puppet next to him. Although he was only an origin soul right now, he felt his body turn cold. Could this puppet be something refined by him? What is this person's background to know such a vicious refining method? Wang Lin opened his eyes and looked at the mummified body giving off a copper glow. His eyes released a mysterious light. It is truly the body of an illusory yin cultivator. It is already copper rank without any metal material. If I add a few heavenly treasures, I believe it can climb even more. When Thunder Taoist's origin soul saw Wang Lin open his eyes, he immediately shouted, "Shu Mu, what are you doing?" "This old man promised to be your slave. I didn't promise to be your puppet." He had shouted many times already, but Wang Lin simply ignored him and continued refining. Watching his own body being refining made his hatred for Wang Lin reached an extreme. However, he didn't dare to move carelessly. The seal on his origin soul and being surrounded by the celestial guard, Thunder Beast, and 3 ultimate primary souls made it so he would die if he made a move. Noisy. Wang Lin frowned and waved his fight hand. The 2 rays of Ling Tianhu's sword energy flew out and the cave was immediately filled with sword energy. This sword energy was filled with Ling Tianhu's tyrannical domain. Under the pressure of the 2 rays of sword energy, Thunder Taoist immediately shut his mouth. The horror in his eyes became even stronger when he saw the 2 rays of sword energy. His bitter gaze looked around at the danger surrounding him, not to mention right now, when he barely had any origin energy. He still wouldn't dare to carelessly rush out even if he had all his origin energy. What he feared most was those 2 rays of sword energy. After Thunder Taoist's origin soul shut up, Wang Lin's divine sense spread out and covered the entire planet. After a long time, his eyes narrowed, and he raised his right hand. The surroundings shook, and the underworld river appeared in the sky outside the cave. Wang Lin shouted, "Underworld river, suck!" The underworld river in the sky released a powerful suction force. This suction force entered the earth, and this abandoned planet began to tremble. The shaking gradually intensified until it was like an earthquake. Shortly after, auras containing metal element was pulled out from the ground and into the underworld river one by one. Over time, more and more metal ores were sucked out. After a long time, the earth slowly stopped trembling and the suction force disappeared. The large amount of metal ores were melted to form 3 fist-sized golden liquid balls that slowly floated into the cave. Wang Lin grabbed one of the golden liquid balls, pressed it against Thunder Taoist's forehead, and followed it up with a mouthful of origin energy. When the 3rd ball disappeared into Thunder Taoist's body, the copper light disappeared and was replaced by a silver glow. "Silver grade!" Wang Lin's eyes revealed relief and fell on the still gloomy Thunder Taoist's origin soul. "Be my puppet for 3,000 years, and I'll give you freedom." "How about it?" Thunder Taoist silently pondered. Wang Lin calmly said, "Even if you have a life-saving spell, it won't be faster than my sword energy." There were only 2 roads before Thunder Taoist. The first was risk it and resist, but he was aware that although his life-saving spell was powerful, it couldn't compare to the 2 rays of sword energy. If both rays attacked at the same time, he would have no path of retreat. The second was to agree and become a puppet. He would be exchanging 3,000 years of time for his freedom. And that was if Wang Lin kept the promise and didn't die during those 3,000 years. Thunder Taoist looked at the puppet that hadn't said a word since the beginning. This puppet's body is very strong. It can even fight barehanded against magical treasures. It shouldn't die during battle. At this moment in the faraway planet Xianxia, the dense fog was covering up everything inside. A cold aura was coming from within, causing every cultivator that passed by to make a detour. In the Alheaven star system, planet Xianxia was a place of death. Very few cultivators who entered would return alive. Just at this moment, the thick fog began to sink violently as if something was trying to charge out. This churning in the fog became even stronger. In an instant, a thin body wearing tattered clothes charged out in an extremely sorry state. His eyes were filled with fear as he charged out, and there was a huge furnace in front of him. As he was about to charge out of the fog, the thin face revealed ecstasy. This was the 8th time he had attempted to escape in over 70 years, but just at this moment, a long tentacle lashed out at an unimaginable speed from planet Xianxia. It wrapped around the thin figure and mercilessly dragged him down. This person was Greed. He was grabbed by the tentacle and was rapidly pulled down. He looked at the dense fog around him, and his eyes revealed despair. "I have searched for treasures all my life, and I didn't think something like this would ever happen, Wang Lin. This was all because of you. If you hadn't come to this damned Alheaven star system, how could this old man be sent here? If I wasn't sent here, how could I have entered this terrifying planet?" The VIDEO has reached first place in the ranking but still can't maintain the top position. Urgently wishing for all friends to push a round of VIDEO, Leo is extremely grateful. Chapter 707, The Incomplete Celestial Spellbook That Shocked Wang Lin. Half a year later, a muffled explosion echoed across the abandoned planet. Wang Lin made a cave-in. The entire planet shivered slightly as dust filled up the sky like a dense fog. Wang Lin frowned and walked out from this dense dust cloud. Behind him followed a skinny puppet. There were countless lightning bolts shining on the puppet's fist. Thunder Taoist chose to compromise in the end, but Wang Lin underestimated the failure rate of creating celestial guards. Even with the Thunder Beast from the Thunder Celestial Temple, it still failed in the end. Low-grade celestial guards have strength equal to peak first-step cultivators. It was because I added the heavenly ghost that produced some change that it was able to reach the strength of illusory yin cultivators. For this second celestial guard, I used an illusory yin cultivator along with the thunder beast. I should have been able to produce a mid-grade celestial guard, but unfortunately I still failed. Wang Lin secretly sighed. Many things make you feel like you are in control, but in the end they still escape your grasp. It seems my Tao heart is a bit restless. Wang Lin removed the feeling of helplessness from his mind, and his mind became calm once more. He looked at the mummy behind him and began to ponder. Wang Lin mumbled, "It's not like I didn't gain anything." After the second celestial guard refining had failed, Thunder Taoist's origin soul lost its consciousness and turned into a mysterious light that fused with the body. The thunder beast was also crushed and fused with it. Peak of silver grade. Wang Lin withdrew his gaze. Although he failed, at the moment of failure, he decisively cut off Thunder Taoist's origin soul and gave up on the refining process. This made the celestial guard, which was on the third step of refining, revert to the first step. He had obtained a peak silver grade body of what could be considered an incomplete celestial guard. Although it couldn't use any spells, the body was extremely strong. If Wang Lin's origin soul could leave his body, he would just barely be able to manipulate it. However, right now his origin soul couldn't leave his body, so with his divine sense, he could just barely make it perform some simple actions, like that punch just now. This kind of control couldn't be used in battle. In fact, even if Wang Lin's origin soul could take control of it, he wouldn't be able to use it like his own body, as the remains of Thunder Taoist's origin soul would reject his control. After reaching the first step of the celestial guard refining process, only the original origin soul could freely control the body. Once the third step, the origin soul refining step, failed, then no one would be able to control it, unless someone several ranks higher in cultivation possessed it as their own body. Wang Lin's gaze was calm as he put the second celestial guard back into his bag and walked back into the cave. He had too many things to do. The celestial guard was only one of them. After balancing his mentality a bit, the irritation from the failure of the celestial guard disappeared. I must increase my cultivation level so that it matches my domain. Inside the cave, Wang Lin sat down in the lotus position, and his eyes lit up as he stared forward. The three ultimate primary souls had already been put away by him along with the 7-star sword formation. However, Ling Tianhu's sword energy rays, the celestial guard, and Thunder Beast were still inside the cave. The celestial guard stood on the side not far away from Thunder Beast that had the third seal released and was lying on the ground. Ling Tianhu's 2 rays of sword energy floated in the air. They emitted powerful sword energy that gave off a faint, whistling noise. Wang Lin's gaze was on the Thunder Beast. If it wasn't for the life-and-death situation from before, Wang Lin would have never opened the third seal on the god-slaying war chariot without any preparation. After all, the god-slaying war chariot was extremely difficult to control. One mishap and he would suffer the backlash. However, during these 6 months, the Thunder Beast's reaction had been unexpected. Not only did it not show any signs of causing him any backlash, it even followed all of his commands. However, there was one order it wouldn't listen to no matter what spell Wang Lin used. It wouldn't turn back to the war chariot and return to his bag of holding. The Thunder Beast was 3 times larger than before. It had become more brilliant, and more gold had appeared on its silver horn. When Wang Lin looked at it, the Thunder Beast also raised its large head and glanced at Wang Lin. It sprayed out 2 strands of thunder from its noise that traveled across its body. The person and beast stared at each other. Wang Lin could feel that this beast had become more intelligent, as if it had a real soul. Although the Thunder Beast was defiant before, its eyes were never as smart as they were now. As if it was annoyed, the Thunder Beast withdrew its gaze. It let out a growl, then its body turned into a bolt of thunder and disappeared into the distance. Wang Lin wryly smiled. During these past 6 months, this beast was often like this. It would leave and not come back for several days. After pondering for a bit, Wang Lin revealed a decisive gaze. Since this beast isn't willing to return to the bag of holding, then I'll simply let it be. Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and the 2 rays of Ling Tianhu's sword energy returned to his body. As for the celestial guard, it stood at the entrance of the cave to protect Wang Lin. Wang Lin took out a bag of holding. This bag of holding held everything Thunder Taoist owned. When Thunder Taoist's consciousness dissipated during the third step of the refining process, the divine sense on it disappeared, and the bag became ownerless. There were many things inside this bag of holding. Aside from some daily use stuff, there were only 4 things that caught Wang Lin's attention. The first item was a jade. There was a fierce thunder beast carved on this jade. The thunder beast had a golden horn with lightning scattered all over its body. It looked extremely mighty. There was a large rune engraved on the back of the jade. Wang Lin didn't know the meaning of the rune, but after some analysis, he guessed the use of this object. Ordinary jades would never have such embellishments carved on them, so this jade obviously had the role of a token. When he tried checking it with his divine sense, a ray of lightning came out to prevent Wang Lin from checking it. Wang Lin's expression remained neutral as he carefully examined this lightning before revealing a smile. Could it be that I really have the potential to be a messenger of the Thunder Celestial Temple? Wang Lin revealed a strange smile. This lightning could prevent most cultivators, even some second-step cultivators, from checking the jade. However, it had no effect on Wang Lin. The lightning contained a sliver of heavenly thunder. This was the true might of heavenly thunder. It was obvious that unless one cultivated the cultivation method of the Thunder Celestial Temple, it was impossible to view what was inside this jade. However, Wang Lin had once devoured an ancient thunder dragon, so the thunder he controlled was a level above this. The thunder in his origin soul moved and moved into the jade. He easily broke through the lightning and saw inside the jade. Even with Wang Lin's mental strength, his eyes suddenly widened. There were only 2 spells stored in this jade, and the first was Furnace Becomes the World, for one's own Tao to form a furnace that could refine the world. This furnace was integrated with one's origin energy to create an amazing origin energy spell. It was obvious this spell was the one that Thunder Taoist had used. Wang Lin had a strong understanding of this spell. Unfortunately, this spell requires too much origin energy. It's impossible to use it before reaching the illusory yin stage. Wang Lin's divine sense landed on the second spell. This spell was named Thunder Origin Spell. This Thunder Origin Spell was what really shocked Wang Lin. The Thunder Origin Spell is a fragment of a low-rank celestial spell. Absorb origin energy from thunder and quickly condense it into your own. Help reduce the time one stays at the yin and yang stage. This spell is very overbearing. The might of heavenly thunder is something first-step cultivators can withstand, so they can cultivate this. Wang Lin's heart suddenly skipped a beat. Ordinary cultivators couldn't cultivate this, but by chance he had a thunder origin soul. The value of this spell was unimaginable to him. Even if a real low-grade celestial spell was placed before him, it wouldn't have the same value as this. Although it was only the fragment of a low-grade celestial spell, it was something Wang Lin needed the most right now. No wonder the Thunder Celestial Temple is so strong in the Heaven star system. Being able to absorb origin energy from heavenly thunder allows them to cultivate much faster than others. Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and he revealed a smile. After cultivating this thunder origin spell, and this furnace becomes the world spell, and adding in the thunder beast, even a real messenger of the Thunder Celestial Temple would be shocked. After memorizing the information inside the jade, Wang Lin carefully put it away and looked at the next item. This item was a sword. This sword had no body. It was completely made of lightning. Wang Lin saw Thunder Taoist use this against the Celestial Guard. Even the Celestial Guard's punches couldn't break this sword. Looking at the sword, Wang Lin pondered a bit before putting it away. The third item was a silver stone the size of his fist. It contained the power of thunder and lightning. Wang Lin had a lot of interest in this item, so his divine sense carefully examined it. Then, he lifted his right hand and gently placed his hand on it. At the moment his hand touched it, a large amount of lightning came out of the stone and entered Wang Lin's body. If it was an ordinary cultivator, this lightning would have caused some serious injuries. However, Wang Lin's origin soul opened its mouth and devoured this lightning. At the moment the lightning disappeared, a wave of origin energy spread throughout Wang Lin's body. This was only a tiny amount of origin energy, but it made Wang Lin's eyes shine brightly. He took a deep breath and stared at this stone. After hesitating for a long time, he gave up the idea of absorbing it and put it inside his bag. This last item was something Wang Lin was familiar with, a celestial jade. Urgently wishing for all friends to push around a video, Leo is extremely grateful. Chapter 708 Original Body, Tasen, Zhou. The amount of celestial jades in Thunder Taoist S-bag made Wang Lin gasp. The amount of celestial jades was simply too shocking. Not even a cultivation family could compare. Just the messenger of the Thunder Celestial Temple has this much celestial jade. This shows just how powerful the Thunder Celestial Temple is. Joy didn't appear in Wang Lin's head when he saw all these celestial jades, only shock. He pondered for a long time and his eyes shined brightly. Thunder Celestial Temple. Wang Lin took a deep breath, then his body flickered and he disappeared into the cave. The celestial guard followed closely after him. Wang Lin's body floated in the air above the sky in the eastern part of the planet. He waved his hand down, and following a loud rumble, everything 5,000 kilometers was flattened. The surrounding 5,000-kilometer area was as flat as a mirror. All of the protruding rocks became dust that was blown away by the wind. So much dust was kicked up that it looked like white mist. Wang Lin floated down and sat in the center. He slapped his bag of holding, and all the celestial jades he had gotten from the three families flew out. The celestial jades landed around him in dense packs. Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding and the 1 billion soul flag flew out. All of the soul fragments fused to make the 3 ultimate primary souls, and they began patrolling the area. The celestial guard also flew into the air and carefully observed the area. Anything that attempted to get close would immediately be killed. After doing all of this, Wang Lin took a deep breath, his hand formed a seal, and he closed his eyes. Large amounts of celestial spiritual energy suddenly filled the air and formed a giant storm that was constantly being absorbed by Wang Lin. After a moment, all of the celestial jades on the ground all shattered. Then a large amount of celestial jades immediately flew out of Wang Lin's bag and this cycle continued. More and more celestial spiritual energy filled Wang Lin's body, and his cultivation level kept increasing. At this moment in the distant Alliance star system, there was an abandoned planet. This planet was not big, even smaller than planet Suzaku, and there was no life here. On this day, 3 rays of sword energy quickly crossed through the stars. The one in front was a woman. She was wearing a light purple cotton dress. It was simple, but not without taste, giving off a graceful feel. There was faint, plum-colored lipstick applied to her elegant lips. Her unique and elegant face gave off a charming feel that could attract anyone. The most eye-catching thing was her eyes that shined like the stars. Her body was emitting a faint fragrance that spread everywhere she went. There were several shining butterfly discs on the right side of her forehead. The colorful reflections made her even more beautiful. If Wang Lin was here and saw this woman, he would feel that she looked familiar. She was the one who left Suzaku after devouring Qianfeng and then was kicked out of the planet 5 elements. Zixin! When she was being hunted by the heavenly water palace, she was saved by Yao Shishui's father, the blood ancestor, and became his concubine. 2 old men giving off bloody lights followed behind her. Their eyes were dim and their minds were clearly being controlled. These 2 people were blood slaves refined by the blood ancestor. Every single blood slave had ascendant cultivation. Zixin was very fast and soon brought the 2 blood slaves to this tiny, faraway planet. Zixin's voice was very attractive as she slowly asked, "This is the planet you spoke of?" One of the blood slaves behind her slowly said, "Mistress, this is the planet." Zixin's eyes narrowed and landed on this planet. 3 months ago, one of the blood slaves reported that there were some changes happening to the planet, as if it was slowly dying. This planet was in the blood ancestor's sphere of influence. After the trip to the demon spirit land, the blood ancestor always showed a gloomy expression. Not long after, he left without anyone knowing where he went. Zixin pondered for a while before heading toward the tiny planet with the 2 blood slaves. There weren't any living beings on this planet. It was completely abandoned. The earth was completely dried up. When Zixin and the blood slaves arrived on the planet, they heard a rumble that continued to echo. Then she saw even more cracks appear on the earth, and a mountain in the distance suddenly collapsed, causing dust to fill the air. Farther away, there was a 100-foot wide river that had already dried up. One of the blood slaves said, although this planet was abandoned 400 years ago, it was not this strange back then. It's as if the planet has completed an entire life cycle in the last 400 years. This was especially more apparent in the last few decades. Xianxia's eyes lit up and her divine sense spread out. She wanted to check the depths of the planet. However, just as her divine sense entered the ground, a coldness filled with killing intent suddenly echoed. Scram! This voice was several times more violent than thunder, and a powerful sense of majesty suddenly appeared. Even more cracks appeared on the ground. At this moment, the sky darkened as if it didn't dare to resist this voice. This voice carried endless sound waves that superimposed on each other, making it sound like countless voices roaring at the same time. Scram! At this moment, the entire planet seemed to collapse. The mountains collapsed and the earth sank. Countless spatial cracks appeared in the sky as the cold wind roared. It was like hell on earth. At the same time, this voice landed on Xianxia's ear, causing her face to turn pale. The two blood slaves trembled and coughed out large mouthfuls of blood. Xianxia's eyes were filled with horror. She didn't have enough time to think about why this voice sounded familiar. She immediately respectfully bowed and said, "Junior didn't know this place was Senior's closed-door cultivation spot. Sorry for disturbing Senior. I'll leave immediately." Her scalp felt numb as she quickly retreated without any hesitation, followed by the two blood slaves. The three of them quickly left the planet. Once they were in space, the fear in Xianxia's eyes disappeared. After looking at the planet meaningfully, she quickly left with the two blood slaves. Shortly after they left, the rumbling sounds from the planet became even louder. Soon, the entire planet began to collapse. It looked like a large ball with many cracks, but then even more cracks appeared and the entire planet collapsed in an instant. At the moment it collapsed, a loud sound echoed across the stars. An invisible force also spread out, and far away, Xianxia and the two blood slaves' expressions changed once more. The force was so fast that it was able to catch up to them. Xianxia's expression became pale and she shouted, "Blood slaves, explode to stop it!" The two blood slaves behind her didn't hesitate to charge toward the source of the force and explode their origin souls. Borrowing this moment, Xianxia took out a blood-red jade from her bag. This was something the blood ancestor gave her. I could be used once to be teleported back to the blood planet from anywhere. However, it would take a certain amount of time to activate. The planet collapsed and turned into countless dust particles that spread across the stars. After the planet collapsed, there was a man standing at the center. He had a head of red hair that flowed without any wind, and his eyes were as cold as ice. His skin was very rough with very noticeable veins that looked like runes. There were 4 stars slowly rotating on his forehead. However, one of the stars was flickering. He was Wang Lin's original body. The original body's expression was cold like ice that hadn't melted in countless years. His body gave off an extremely cold aura. The force caused by the collapse by the planet seemed to have no effect on him at all. It didn't even seem to be able to penetrate his skin. Wang Lin's eyes looked into the distant void. This planet no longer has any spiritual energy for me to absorb. Wang Lin pondered a bit as he slowly looked at the collapsed planet around him. Then his right hand reached out and he grabbed. The dust around him suddenly paused and an ancient aura slowly condensed. However, not long after, it dissipated. This soul extraction spell requires some cultivation. Wang Lin's origin body stepped forward. With how strong his body was, he didn't need a star compass to travel among the stars. Unfortunately, I still haven't found any aura of an adult ancient god. Otherwise, I would have truly reached 4 stars. Could it be, I need to take a trip back to planet Suzaku? I don't know when Ta-Sen will break free. Wang Lin's original body slowly disappeared among the stars. Several months later, Wang Lin's body chose a new abandoned planet. He slowly entered the core of the planet and closed his eyes to cultivate. He chose this planet because it had a natural layer of thunder. Planet Suzaku, Sea of Devils. The fog in the Sea of Devils had disappeared a long time ago, so the entire Sea of Devils was now a large basin. In the depths of the Sea of Devils there was a place called the Broken Chaotic Stars. This was a forbidden area of the Sea of Devils. Anyone who approached his place would mysteriously disappear. After a while, no one dared to come here. Inside the land of the ancient god, inside the chaotic broken stars, countless cultivators were sitting in the Sea of Blood. These cultivators' cultivation levels slowly increased as the Sea of Blood invaded them. Those ancient cultivators were becoming even more powerful. On the largest pillar in the sea of blood sat a red-haired man. His body was giving off an aura so powerful that it could cause all beings to tremble. A rust-covered sword was stabbed into the ground next to the man. This rust-covered sword also had some dry blood on it. At this moment the sound of something grinding against the ground could be heard. He had his head lowered, and his red hair was covering his whole body. Through the gaps in his hair, one could see that he was carving the two words Wang Lin with his sharp nail. If one looked closely, one could clearly see that this entire pillar was covered with these two words. Wang Lin, a hoarse voice came from the red-haired man and echoed across the entire sea of blood. Every cultivator's body trembled. For countless years, they had heard the name Wang Lin so much that it was engraved in their bones. Wang Lin, I am about to be free. 3 months later, a person walked out from the chaotic, broken stars. This person had a monkey with red eyes on his shoulder, and he slowly walked out of the sea of devils. He wasn't Ta-Sen, but a messenger sent by Ta-Sen. There was deep hatred in this person's eyes. If Wang Lin was here, he would recognize him as the long-dead sky devil magician. Back then, if it wasn't T for Wang Lin, the inheritance of knowledge would have been his. He was the master of 6 desired devil lord, and had plotted for thousands of years, but in the end, all of it was destroyed by Wang Lin. His hatred for Wang Lin wasn't any weaker than Ta-Sen. The realm under the Thunder Celestial Realm Sky Devil Magician's body flickered and left planet Suzaku. Planet Suzaku, peak of Mount Suzaku. Joru's long hair flowed with the wind and her dress flapped in the wind. She looked much more mature than before. Behind her, Little White was lying on the ground with a lazy gaze. Joru was holding a bag of holding in her hand. This bag was very old and clearly had hundreds of years of history. Uncle, I can now open the bag you left me back then. Joru said this softly before looking down at the bag. Her divine sense entered the bag and opened it. There was nothing inside, only a ray of white light shot out and entered between Joru's eyebrows. Her body trembled, her grip on the bag loosened, and it was blown far away. Little White let out a roar, suddenly stood up, and looked at Joru. He couldn't understand what exactly had happened. The white light disappeared between Joru's eyebrows, and in her brain, a seal was released. The sealed memories slowly appeared before Joru. For these 19 years, I felt this child grow up as if she was my own. Big brother Wang, I can bear it. Wan ear is very silly. I have let you down. Tears appeared on Joru's face, and after a long time, she lowered her head, sat down, and hugged her knees. She couldn't stop her tears. Little White, it turns out Uncle never wanted me to find him. Wang Lin was currently absorbing celestial spiritual energy like crazy. Around him, the shattered celestial jades continued to pile up more and more. The amount of celestial jades required to break past the mid-stage of Ascendant was a terrifying, far more than early stage to mid-stage. However, Wang Lin had enough celestial jades. However, Wang Lin found that after his origin soul devoured the ancient thunder dragon, it was different from before. It was like a bottomless pit when it came to absorbing celestial jades. Half a year had already passed, and he had consumed a terrifying amount of celestial jades every day. However, his origin soul was still not full. Time slowly passed and he consumed even more celestial jades. Another 6 months passed, and on this day Wang Lin suddenly opened his eyes. Lightning flashed through his eyes and a heaven-shaking aura rushed out of his body. Wang Lin stood up. His expression was calm and he stepped toward the sky. Late stage ascendant. Embarrassed, I've been remiss in saying thank you. Thank you all for pressing the like button. Thanks to the fellow Taoists for their praise. Chapter 709, Fourth Step of Cultivation. Does it exist? A ray of thunder flew through the stars. Inside the thunder was a thunder beast with silver horn that contained a hint of gold. Its whole body gave off flashes of lightning and looked very majestic. Wang Lin was sitting in the lotus position on the back of the thunder beast. His hair moved without any wind, and his eyes were shining. Although he looked ordinary, he gave off an extraordinary aura. If anyone saw him right now, they would without a doubt think he was a messenger of the Thunder Celestial Temple. Right now he was far too similar to Thunder Taoist. If a messenger of the Thunder Celestial Temple met Wang Lin, they would be startled. More than 900 years of cultivation allowed Wang Lin to reach the late stage of Ascendant, the same cultivation level as Yukazi back then. If Yukazi wasn't dead, how would he feel if he saw this? The little cultivator who he only considered a pawn had grown to such heights. Late-stage ascendant cultivators were considered supreme existences in some small cultivation planets. No one would dare to provoke them there. After spending the last year absorbing celestial spiritual energy, Wang Lin had finally reached this peak. He only needed to take another step for his cultivation and domain to reach completion. After that, he would be able to take the step toward the second step. Not many people could reach the second step of cultivation, and it was so difficult that cultivators at the first step couldn't imagine it. Although Wang Lin hadn't reached that step, the few times he battled with illusory yin cultivators made him realize how powerful second step cultivators were. The first step of cultivation was already very difficult. Thinking back over these 900 years of cultivation, crisis was around every corner. Any bit of carelessness would have caused my soul to be destroyed. If it wasn't for Senior Zhou Yi, I would already be dead from trying to break into the ascendant stage. If the first step was already like this, then the second step must be more difficult. The second step must also have its own life and death trial. I wonder if I can pass it. However, a person who follows the will of the heavens is the same as a mortal, and someone who goes against the heavens is immortal. As long as my Tao heart remains, I can conquer all dangers. Wang Lin's eyes shine brightly. There is also the third step of cultivation. Even people like the all-seer Haven T reached it and are struggling in pursuit. What level is this third step? How will it compare against an ancient god? Wang Lin's eyes showed a hint of anticipation. However, he knew that the third step was currently too far away. He might not even grasp it before his lifespan ends. The 3 steps of cultivation are like climbing a mountain. Each step is more difficult than the previous. I don't to know how many realms are in the third step. I just don't to know if there is a fourth step. Wang Lin's right hand gently rubbed the Thunder Beast's head. Lightning moved through his hand, but it had no effect on him. Does the fourth step exist? Wang Lin muttered, as if he was asking the stars. No one could answer this question. The thunder brought Wang Lin toward Planet Thousand Illusion. Planet Ranyun was where his memories were sealed, so Wang Lin didn't want to go there anymore. It is about time to explore that moongazer serpent on planet Xianxia. I need a large amount of celestial ascension fruits, so the Huan family is the best choice. Wang Lin rode the Thunder Beast forward. Although it was slower than the star compass, it was still very fast. The original body has absorbed the spiritual energy of a small planet, and its strength is at 4 stars. However, it is still missing the aura of an adult ancient god. I wonder if I can find it in the Alheaven star system. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as if he had an epiphany. The moongazer serpent is a parasite that lives inside an ancient god's body. I wonder if there is any remnant aura of an ancient god there. Wang Lin remembered something from the past. Back then on planet Tanyun, a messenger of the Cultivation Alliance came with a star sable. That creature is extremely sensitive to the aura of an ancient god. If that beast was here, it would help a lot in search of an ancient goddess aura. The Thunder Beast roared as it flew through space. Half a month later, Planet Thousand Illusion appeared in Wang Lin's eyes. His eyes were calm as the Thunder Beast flew toward Planet Thousand Illusion. The moment he closed, in countless thunder clouds appeared, and the sound of thunder rumbling echoed across the sky. This phenomenon immediately caught the attention of the cultivators on Planet Thousand Illusion. The Thunder Beast closed in and directly penetrated through the atmosphere. As it floated in the air, it raised its head and let out a roar. This roar represented all the thunder in the world. The rumble affected all the thunder clouds created by the arrival of the Thunder Beast. Bolts of thunder descended from the sky, creating a series of explosions. Just like when Thunder Taoist arrived on planet Ranyun, every cultivator on Planet Thousand Illusion trembled. Their bodies and souls shook from the might of the thunder. After releasing the third seal, the strength and inheritance the Thunder Beast gained made it no weaker than an illusory yin cultivator. Wang Lin frowned. He didn't want to attract so much attention. He slapped the Thunder Beast's head, causing it to immediately stop roaring, and flew directly toward the ground. The Thunder Beast rushed straight for the Huan family's home according to Wang Lin's memory. Before he closed in, every cultivator of the Huan family flew out with Huan Fengshen leading them. They looked at the approaching thunder with horror in their eyes. When they clearly saw Wang Lin sitting on the Thunder Beast, some people even exclaimed out loud. The people of the Huan family could never forget Wang Lin. Sitting on the Thunder Beast's head, Wang Lin's eyes carried lightning sparks as he calmly said, "Huan family head, come forth!" Huan Fengshen took a deep breath. He stepped forth and respectfully said, Huan family S. Huan Fengshen greets messenger of the Thunder Celestial Temple. I didn't recognize Lord Messenger before. I hope Lord Messenger doesn't mind. Wang Lin would naturally not explain and said, there is no need to talk about matters of the past. I want to ask if you have a way to obtain a large amount of Celestial Ascension fruits. Celestial Ascension fruits. Huan Fengshen was startled and immediately bitterly said, Lord Messenger, this. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed and looked at Huan Fengshen. The thunder beast under him began to growl. Huan Fengshen let out a sigh and revealed a decisive gaze. He nodded and said, forget it. The Huan family will give up the opportunity to enter the Thunder Celestial Realm in 100 years, and give all the collected Celestial Ascension fruits to Lord Messenger. Wang Lin's expression was neutral, but he began to think. This Huan Fengshen's words contain some clues. Could the Celestial Ascension fruit have something to do with the Thunder Celestial Realm? The Thunder Celestial Realm was going to open up in 100 years. Wang Lin had heard this from Sun Shi before. Wang Lin's expression didn't change as he silently nodded. The Huan family had a large amount of Celestial Ascension fruits, but it still wasn't enough for Wang Lin's needs. It seems I have to borrow the name of the Thunder Celestial Temple and go through this northern domain for more. Wang Lin rubbed the Thunder Beast's head. Feebly asking, 4,000 words, does that count as a major chapter? Could it be hoping for the like button for the VIDEO and the followers too? Chapter 70, Returning Home. 3 days later, Wang Lin left the cave covered in sweat. Zhou Peng walked out behind him with misty eyes. Zhou Peng, you return to the Xuan Dao sect, follow my directions and kill all of the people that want to harm me. Also protect my parents afterwards. Wang Lin's voice was very cold and filled with bloodlust. Zhou Peng respectfully nodded and moved toward the Xuan Dao sect. Wang Lin looked at Zhou Peng. After a long time, Wang Lin asked, Senior Situ, this puppet technique didn't really require the first step, right? Situ was stunned. He quickly said, says who? The first step was a must. Without the first step, you couldn't do the second step. After Wang Lin had personally made a puppet himself, he felt that there was something off. He wanted to say more, but instead asked, will Pun Nanzi see through Zhou Peng? Situ Nan hesitated for a bit, then answered, truth to be told, when you were making the puppet, I placed some of my essence inside it, so, if a nascent soul cultivator doesn't look very carefully. They shouldn't be able to find anything wrong. Also, that Pun Nanzi should be in closed-door training most of the time, so the chances of him finding out are low. Wang Lin pondered for a while. He moved his body and shot out like a rainbow toward the village. He didn't stop at all and flew toward his home. Before he even entered the gate, he heard a familiar voice coming from inside. Little brat, how can anyone be as bad a carpenter as you? Just look at it, this isn't even half as good as what my son can do. Master, Taiju is an immortal now. How could I ever compare to him? If I can be even half as great as he is, I'll be satisfied. When Wang Lin heard this, he was stunned. He immediately sent out his divine sense. Then, he let out a smile. He remembered this person. It was a playmate of his that often bugged Wang Lin's dad to teach him carpentry. He gently pushed the door open and said to the old figure in the yard, Dad, Taiju is back. The old figure quivered. He immediately dropped the tool in his hand, turned his head, and saw a or so year old youth that looked exactly like his son. Taiju? Wang Lin's dad rubbed his eyes hard as tears flowed out. Wang Lin stepped forward and embraced his dad. He wiped away the tears on his dad's face as he carefully studied that familiar face. He took a few steps back, knelt on the ground and said, Dad, Taiju hasn't been a good son, not visiting at all in the last 5 years. It really is Taiju. Wife, come out. Our son is back. Taiju's dad pulled Wang Lin up. He looked Wang Lin over with a smile on his face. Taiju's dad excitedly said, Taiju, you grew taller. You've almost caught up to your dad. You also have become sturdier. Good. That's my son. At that moment, an old woman walked out of the house. She stared at Wang Lin as tears fell from her eyes. Wang Lin went up and knelt before the old woman with a yearning expression. He said, Mother, Taiju came back to see you. How could you be so heartless? You haven't come back to see us at all in the last 5 years. Do we still exist in your heart? In these 5 years your father and I have been constantly thinking about you. As she kept speaking, she ended up hugging Taiju and started to cry. Taiju's dad looked at Taiju's mom, then said, "Our child is an immortal, so he must focus on more important matters. Just look at how you reacting. It will become the joke of the town. Little Six, you can go home. Don't bother coming back for a few days. I'll call you when Taiju leaves." Little Six smiled. He quickly responded and left after giving Wang Lin a look of admiration. That night, Wang Lin's mom made a plethora of good food. All of the dishes were Wang Lin's favorites. They ate and talked about the changes that had happened in these past 5 years. Wang Lin didn't need to eat in these past few years, but his mother's cooking smelled too delicious for him to resist. During the conversation, Wang Lin's parents asked about the giant mountain appearing on top of the Heng Yu sect. Wang Lin hesitated for a bit and lied that the Heng Yue sect moved, so he wouldn't be able to come back as often. His parents didn't dig any deeper about this matter. They just told him to take care of his body. In these past 5 years, a lot had changed. Relatives often visited, and with fourth uncle's help, Wang Lin's dad was able to get back his part of the family inheritance. His dad didn't do much carving himself anymore, but he accepted a few apprentices and passed on his trade. Little Six was the smartest of the apprentices. He managed to learn 50 or 60% of the skills already. When Wang Lin heard this, he smiled and said, "Dad, I saw the wood carving Little Six made. They were pretty good, not nearly as bad as you were saying." Wang Lin's dad snorted and said, "They are still far too poor. When I taught you how to carve, you were only 8 years old, and you were already doing better than him." Taiju's mom looked at her son with eyes filled with love and said, "Yes, our Taiju has always been smarter than them. I have to say, Taiju, you aren't too young anymore. In these past 5 years, many families have come to ask about marriage. Mom heard that immortals can also have families. Since you are back, stay for a while and go see them with Mom. If there are any good ones, we can decide on the matter." Wang Lin was stunned and wryly smiled. "Mother, how old do I look? Please don't worry about this." Taiju's mom immediately became unhappy and stared at Wang Lin. "Little brat, all of the people your age in the village already have kids running around." Wang Lin rubbed his nose and said, "Mom, creating a family is a big deal. Wait a few years and I'll bring one back. How's that?" Taiju's dad saw that his wife was about to say more. He coughed and said, "Wife, why are you worried about these pointless things? Our son is an immortal. Do you understand immortals? How could they marry a mortal? Taiju is saying that he will bring back an immortal wife. Do you understand?" Taiju's mom paused and muttered, "What's so good about immortals? Immortals can leave home and not come back for 5 years. If I have an immortal daughter-in-law, then my son probably won't even bring her back after 10 years. Wang Lin wryly smiled. Right as he was about to speak, his mom glared at him and said, "Fine, I'll listen to your dad. I guess you have your sights set on something high, and the girls in the villages want to catch your eye. Mom will wait and see what kind of girl you bring back." When Wang Lin saw that his mom was angry, he immediately said, "Mom, don't worry. Your son will definitely bring you back a good daughter-in-law." After dinner, Wang Lin's parents asked him endless questions until late into the night before they finally went to sleep. Leo dreams of getting a lot of likes for this video, having many followers, plenty of shares, and everyone praising his good reading and the number of words he can read. So happy. Chapter Attachment. The 5 major planets in the northern domain of the Alheaven star system each had many cultivation planets under them, and there were many cultivation families on these cultivation planets. Wang Lin sat on the back of the Thunder Beast and went directly toward the Qian family. The second-step cultivators of the Qian family had gone into closed-door cultivation long ago, so everything regarding the family was managed by Xianxia. When Wang Lin entered Planet Thousand Illusion, Xianxia noticed instantly. When he saw Wang Lin arrive on the Thunder Beast, he was convinced that what the Huan family's ancestor said was a lie. This person was without a doubt a messenger of the Thunder Celestial Temple. Thinking about the powerful treasures and spells this person displayed 70 years ago in the battle against the Huan family's ancestor, Xianxia's heart trembled. The messenger of the Thunder Celestial Temple my Qian family relied on died in the Thunder Celestial Realm several thousand years ago. In the Alheaven star system, unless it is one of the ancient families, everyone needs to rely on a messenger of the Thunder Celestial Temple to survive. Xianxia hesitated. His decision now would determine the future development of the Qian family. Unfortunately, all of the second-step cultivators in the family are all in closed-door cultivation. I can disturb them, or else there would be someone to discuss this with. While Qianqizi was hesitating, Wang Lin headed toward the Qian family's city on the Thunder Beast. The Qian family's city was very large, several times larger than the Huan family's. After all, the Qian family was the #1 family on planet Thousand Illusions. Qianqizi and some cultivators of the Qian family quickly came out to welcome Wang Lin. Although Qianqizi's cultivation level was higher than Wang Lin's, the status of a messenger of the Thunder Celestial Temple was as high as the heavens, so they wouldn't dare to offend one. On the Thunder Beast, Wang Lin's eyes were calm as he looked at the Qian family cultivators. Finally, his gaze fell on Qianqizi, and he said, "Senior Qianqizi, long time no see." Qianqizi laughed and said, "I don't dare to be called senior. Lord Messenger's status is noble, and my cultivation level is merely slightly higher. Let us talk as peers." While Qianqizi spoke calmly, his heart was shocked. From what he could see, this person had gone from the early stage of Ascendant to the late stage of Ascendant in less than a century. Although he was still in the first step, this speed was shocking. Only the various cultivation methods of the Thunder Celestial Temple could do this. What shocked Qianqizi the most was the Thunder Beast under Wang Lin. This Thunder Beast was even fiercer, and when its gaze fell on Qianqizi, he felt like he had encountered a cultivator with similar cultivation level as his. Qianqizi thought back then, "I thought this person had high status in the Thunder Celestial Temple. It looks like my guess is 70% likely to be true." Wang Lin faintly smiled and said, "That is fine as well. Fellow cultivator Qianqizi, I am here to ask for some celestial ascension fruits." Qianqizi silently pondered a bit. Although the celestial ascension fruits were very important to enter the Thunder Celestial realm, getting the support of a messenger of the Thunder Celestial Temple was more important. The only hesitation he had was the future development of this person. It has to be said that in the Alheaven star system, once a family was supported by a messenger, they couldn't be supported by another until that messenger died. With my Qian family's resources, we can bring a messenger that has reached the second step. However, those second-step messengers are all too arrogant. To gain their support would require too many resources. This person's cultivation is lacking, but his potential in the future is infinite. Although this is just a bet, if I bet correctly here, Qianqizi began to hesitate. In the Alheaven star system, if a family was not supported by a messenger of the Thunder Celestial Temple, it meant that they lost the protection of the Thunder Celestial Temple. The consequences of this were extremely serious. The Thunder Celestial Temple was a giant existence that shrouded the Alheaven star system. Its method of control over the Alheaven star system was very primitive and very different from how the Cultivation Alliance controlled the Alliance star system. In the Alheaven star system, the Thunder Celestial Temple had a set number of messengers that never change. It always maintained 99 people. There were 99 messengers of the Thunder Celestial Temple, and each would have a large number of families that relied on them, allowing them to develop their own forces. This was the unique style of the Alheaven star system. Thunder Taoist's forces were in the northern domain, and he had only come here because he was ordered to investigate. It was due to his own confidence that he came by himself, and this resulted in his downfall. If Wang Lin and Thunder Taoist were battling in Thunder Taoist's sphere of influence, Wang Lin would without a doubt died. Qianqizi pondered for a long time, but Wang Lin didn't urge and quietly waited. He didn't know what Qianqizi was thinking. In fact, Qianqizi's thoughts had nothing to do with the celestial ascension fruits. Shortly after, Qianqizi let out a sigh. The Huan family ancestor's words still echoed in his ears. He hesitated before saying, "Lord Messenger, my Qian family has a lot of celestial ascension fruits, and we can give you half of them as a gift. However, I have a request I hope Lord Messenger can agree to." Wang Lin's eyes were calm as he slowly said, "Speak." Qianqizi looked at Wang Lin and said, "I would like to see Lord Messenger's Thunder Celestial Temple token." His gaze narrowed. If this person couldn't take out a token, then he was a fake, but if he could, Qianqizi would make a certain decision. Wang Lin coldly looked at Qianqizi. Without wasting time, he slapped his bag of holding and Thunder Taoist's jade flew out. Bursts of thunder immediately came from the jade and the might of thunder spread out. Xianxia had seen the token of a Thunder Celestial Temple messenger once before. At the moment he saw the token and felt the might of thunder, his expression immediately became respectful, and the doubt in his heart disappeared. Lord Messenger, my Qian family is willing to make an agreement with you. When you reach the yin and yang stage, my Qian family will become your subordinates. Before that happens, my Qian family will do our best to meet your needs. Although Xianxia no longer had any doubts, the matter of gaining support from a messenger was simply too important. He decided to wait instead of completely devoting themselves. Wang Lin's expression remained the same, but his thoughts raced. This Thunder Celestial Temple seemed a bit strange. Becoming my subordinate family, can the messengers of the Thunder Celestial Temple develop their own forces? Wang Lin didn't ask, but softly said, let us talk about this matter in the future. First, bring me the Celestial Ascension fruits. Xianxia secretly sighed. It seemed the other party was not interested in his deal. It was not abnormal, as without handing over their family's bloodline inheritance, it wouldn't be considered truly becoming a subordinate family. He didn't know if his hesitation had made his Qian family miss out on a chance to develop in the future, but right now he didn't have time to think about it. After hearing Wang Lin's order, he sent out the order to the Qian family members. Shortly after, a cultivator of the Qian family appeared with a bag of holding and respectfully handed it to Xianxia. Xianxia threw the bag over and said, Lord Messenger, this is half the Celestial Ascension fruits my Qian family possesses. Wang Lin scanned it with his divine sense and then nodded. The amount of Celestial Ascension fruits in this bag was about the same as what the Huan family gave him, but it still wasn't enough for Wang Lin. Thanks. After clasping his hands at Xianxia, Wang Lin patted the Thunder Beast's head. The Thunder Beast let out a roar before turning into a bolt of thunder and disappearing. Xianxia looked at the bolt of thunder leaving and felt regret. If he was more decisive and had gained support, Wang Lin had only obtained 1/5 of the Celestial Ascension fruits he needed, so there was still a lot to go. During the last 100 years, Planet Thousand Illusions had undergone a lot of changes. The Shu family had mysteriously migrated. After leaving Planet Thousand Illusion, for the next several months, Wang Lin swept across the northern domain and borrowed the identity of a Thunder Celestial Temple messenger. Regardless of whether the cultivation planet was big or small, he would appear there. A rumor saying that a Thunder Celestial Temple messenger was requesting Celestial Ascension fruits soon appeared. However, this was quickly suppressed by Wang Lin, using his status as a Thunder Celestial Temple messenger. This rumor only remained among the cultivation families. A lot of cultivation families had never met a Thunder Celestial Temple messenger, so a lot of them greeted Wang Lin with a grand welcome. Almost all of the families were shocked by the title of Thunder Celestial Temple messenger, so, like the Qian family, they handed over a portion of their Celestial Ascension fruits. In the end, whenever Wang Lin arrived, the cultivation families would immediately hand over a portion of their Celestial Ascension fruits. Some of the smaller cultivation families even requested to become his subordinate families. After Wang Lin careful consideration, he didn't accept these requests, as this matter was too big. He had no feud with these families, and the risk was too great. If they became his subordinates and his identity was exposed in the future, it could easily implicate them. After experiencing all this, Wang Lin gained some clues to the use of the Celestial Ascension fruits to the Thunder Celestial Temple, and why families became subordinate to Thunder Celestial Temple messengers. The Celestial Ascension fruits piled up until Wang Lin had far more than he needed, but he still continued to collect them. After all, these fruits still had great use in the Thunder Celestial realm. Half a year later, Wang Lin, along with the Thunder Beast, formed a ray of thunder and charged toward planet Xianxia. Among the bright stars there were many nebulas. Thunder echoed from the Thunder Beast, and Wang Lin traveled extremely quick. If I can succeed in this trip, then the metal element of the heaven-defying bead will be complete. After that, it should be able to recognize an owner. I just dawned to know if it will have any powers. Wang Lin's expectations began to rise as he flew toward planet Xianxia. Along the way, he took the 1 billion soul flag and searched the memories of the old man that was good at escaping. He memorized all of the old man's escape spells. This old man's escape spells left a profound mark in Wang Lin's memory. If it wasn't for all the things that had happened, he would have studied them long ago. Planet Xianxia gradually became closer. In half a month, Planet Xianxia's special fog appeared before Wang Lin's eyes. The fog was thicker than the last time he came here. The bolts of thunder closed in, and before it even closed in, there were loud rumbles. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed, and after a moment he charged toward the thick fog. Bursts of roars came from the fog. When the roars landed in Wang Lin's ears, it made his eyes light up. 3,000 words in a major chapter. Wish that the like button for the video would break. Chapter 711, Excretion. The fog was so thick that it was preventing his divine sense from spreading too far. The thunder beast let out a roar and charged into the fog. Thunder covered his body as it descended through the fog. The thunder melted large amounts of fog as they descended. Sitting on the thunder beast, Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he slapped his bag of holding. The 7-star sword formation flew out and rapidly rotated to clear the way. With the experience from last time, Wang Lin had a good understanding of Planet Xianxia. His speed was not fast and could even be considered slow. Whenever the thunder beast let out a roar and wanted to go faster, Wang Lin would stop it. Although the speed was slow, it was stable. With the 7-star sword formation, they easily cleared the way and came closer to the surface of the planet. Wang Lin calculated the distance it took for him to get through the fog last time, and when there should have been less than 1,000 feet remaining, he suddenly felt a sense of crisis in his heart. The thunder beast detected this danger even earlier. Without waiting for Wang Lin's order, it immediately changed directions and charged out. A slender tentacle appeared like an afterimage and swiped through where Wang Lin just was. It was simply too fast and seemed to only make a tiny hole through the fog. Fortunately, the thunder beast dodged quickly enough. The tentacle that stretched out waved around before immediately withdrawing. However, while it was withdrawing, it wrapped around Wang Lin's 7-star sword formation. It seemed to carry a powerful section force as it pulled the 7-star sword formation down. Wang Lin's expression was gloomy. If he didn't know of the danger and had rushed down, he wouldn't have been able to dodge the tentacle. Fortunately, he wasn't going too fast, so the thunder beast was able to dodge it. The tentacle contained a powerful ability. When it touched the 7-star sword formation, it made it so he couldn't control the swords. This tentacle looks familiar. Wang Lin silently pondered for a bit before his eyes lit up and he recognized the origin of the tentacle. Wang Lin gasped. This thing is shockingly similar to the Moongazer Serpent's third form. The Moongazer Serpent had 3 forms. The first form was the dormant form with no offensive power. When Wang Lin first came here, that was the state the Moongazer Serpent was in. The second form was when all the tentacles were withdrawn, and the Moongazer Serpent would change into various shapes. The current Moongazer Serpent was in this state. The third form was the assault form. All of the tentacles would be extended, and could extend as long as the Moongazer Serpent itself. If one encountered a Moongazer Serpent in this form, they must escape, or they will be attacked. Thinking about this, Wang Lin's expression became even more gloomy. He looked at the remaining 1,000 feet of fog and began to hesitate. When I came here last time, there were 2 Moongazer Serpents here. One was in the first state, and the second one was sleeping. Why have they changed now? I don't know which Moongazer Serpent that tentacle belonged to. Wang Lin pondered for a moment. If he left now, not only would he have wasted his time gathering the Celestial Ascension fruits, he would also lose the 7-star sword formation. I lost a treasure before I even got close. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and revealed a decisive gaze. He really wasn't willing to leave like this. He patted the thunder beast's head, and then it charged through the fog, but it didn't emit any roars. After leaving the fog, his divine sense was no longer obstructed. The scene that appeared before him made him suck in a breath of cold air. The earth was completely different from before. The swaying plants from before had disappeared and were replaced with long tentacles. These tentacles were dark red and gave off a mysterious power. This made Wang Lin's scalp tingle. His divine sense spread out and he carefully scanned the area before letting out a breath of relief. Only 10,000 feet long. That means it is only heading toward the third form but hasn't fully awakened. However, without stimulation, it is impossible for the Moongazer Serpent to be like this. Someone must have come here in the last 100 years. Wang Lin frowned. However, even if someone came, it is unlikely for them to have stimulated it into transforming into the third form. This matter is strange. Wang Lin jumped off the Thunder Beast and pondered. He looked toward the Thunder Beast and talked as if he was talking to a person. With your abilities, you should be able to detect the dangers here. If you still aren't willing to revert back into the war chariot, it will only increase the danger for both of us." The Thunder Beast waved its big head and began to ponder. It glanced at the tentacles coming out the ground and revealed a look of disdain. Wang Lin frowned hard and simply decided to ignore it. He moved forward without causing any disturbance. He moved slowly and carefully as he made his way between the tentacles. In his eyes, each of these tentacles contained terrifying attack power. While Wang Lin flew, one of the tentacles before him suddenly lashed toward him. A powerful force rushed toward him. The powerful wind created by this force blew Wang Lin's hair backwards. The wind was like knives as it hit his face. He had been vigilant and was carefully observing these tentacles. When the tentacle attacked, he saw the root of the tentacle change slightly. In almost an instant, Wang Lin teleported away. He was so fast that it created an afterimage. The tentacle hit the afterimage before slowly retracting and returning to normal. Wang Lin's figure appeared in the air. He stared at the tentacles on the ground, and his eyebrows knit even tighter. To make the moongazer serpent fall under the effect of the celestial ascension fruits, they must be used on its sensitive spot. However, doing that will be troublesome with these tentacles. After pondering for a bit, Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding, and a large amount of celestial ascension fruits flew out around him. Wang Lin's eyes lit up, his right hand reached out, and he said, "Refine!" Sounds of crisp explosions could be heard as the celestial ascension fruits all shattered and turned into red liquid that condensed together. Wang Lin's hand formed a seal as he spat out a mouthful of origin energy that surrounded the liquid. His origin energy turned to flames, and then red mist started being refined out of the liquid. Wang Lin's eyes became cold as he grabbed the mist and charged toward the ground. He pushed his hand down, and the red mist rushed toward the tentacles. In the blink of an eye, the mist spread more than 1,000 feet wide. The dense red mist surrounded the tentacles. It was much easier for the tentacles to absorb the fruits in mist form. The dozens of tentacles within the area gradually slowed down their swaying. It was the same as mortals getting drunk. The tentacles' dark red quickly turned into a crimson red. Wang Lin carefully descended and moved between the tentacles. The tentacles seemed to completely ignore him, which let Wang Lin breathe a sigh of relief. Shortly after, he finally landed on the ground. There was a scene in the ancient god's memories about the moongazer serpent's sensitive spot. It was the root of the tentacles. Just a small little stimulation there would stimulate the whole body. Wang Lin carefully took out celestial ascension fruits, usually dozens at once, and refined them into a red liquid. After placing restrictions on them, he allowed the red liquid to merge with the root of the tentacles. While he was doing this, he was very cautious. He was very careful and had his divine sense spread out. The redness from the tentacles quickly dissipated, and Wang Lin knew he didn't have much time. After placing the red liquid at the root of the last tentacle, he quickly flew out. Almost at the instant he flew out, the red mist dissipated. The tentacle's color changed from crimson red back to dark red. However, there were bulges on the tentacles that moved down underground. When Wang Lin saw this, he recognized this scene. This was the moongazer serpent expelling the toxins from its body, just like a mortal using the toilet. The thunder beast had been looking at Wang Lin from the sky, and it was a bit annoyed. When it looked at the tentacles on the ground, the disdain in its eyes became even stronger. It moved forward and charged directly at the ground. Bolts of thunder shot out from its body, and the rumbling sound transmitted across the entire planet. Wang Lin suddenly turned around and shouted, "Damn beast! Quickly come back!" Just at this instant, the ground trembled as if the entire planet had become alive. All of the tentacles stopped swaying and immediately extended toward the thunder beast. There were too many tentacles coming from the ground. At first, the thunder beast was filled with disdain as bolts of thunder transmitted through the tentacles and into the ground. However, in the next instant, a mysterious power came from the tentacles, and the tentacles gave off a red light. This red light was blinding, and in an instant, the entire planet became red. Those tentacles moved even faster, and in the blink of an eye, they wrapped around the thunder beast. No matter how hard the thunder beast struggled or released thunder, it had no effect on the tentacles. It couldn't break even one tentacle. Wang Lin was far away, and his expression was extremely gloomy. The moongazer serpent in the third form was extremely sensitive to sound, so the more the thunder beast roared, the tighter the tentacles wrapped around it. The disdain in the Thunder Beast's eyes gradually disappeared and was replaced with fear. Wang Lin sent a voice transmission. "Stop roaring." His face was cold as he took out celestial ascension fruits. At this moment in the core of planet Xianxia, a thin figure was sitting inside a vast cavern. Outside of his body was a huge furnace. Strands of tentacles about as thick as an arm were wrapped around the furnace. The tentacles constantly wiggled as if they were absorbing something. The old man's expression was gloomy when he suddenly opened his eyes, and his expression became even more gloomy. The walls of the cave began to move and large amount of red mist came in. There was also some foul-smelling filth that contained lightning, which made the smell even worse. The old man was greed. If Wang Lin was here, he would immediately recognize this place as the place where the moongazer serpent absorbed nutrients and expelled waste. 3,000 words in a major chapter, hoping to be shared, hoping to get the like button hit for the video. Chapter 712, Greed's Little Treasure. Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding and took out a large amount of celestial ascension fruits. He calmly looked at the thunder beast that was struggling against the tentacles but no longer dared to roar. He waved his right hand and all the fruits shattered into juice. After being refined by his origin energy, the juice became red mist. Wang Lin stepped forth with the red mist and appeared next to the trapped thunder beast. He mercilessly pressed down with the red mist. There were some crisp cracking sounds as the mist diffused around the thunder beast. The tentacles' grasp loosened slightly, and their color started to turn crimson red. Taking advantage of the tentacles' weakening, the thunder beast covered itself in thunder. Then its huge body shrank until it turned back into the chariot and finally charged out. Wang Lin's left hand reached out and put the god-slaying war chariot into his bag of holding. It was obvious that the thunder beast was terrified. Originally, it was unwilling to return to the bag, but now it compromised. After putting away the thunder beast, Wang Lin began moving along. He would use the red mist to temporarily weaken the tentacles before sealing drops of juice at their roots. He repeated this again and again. It was lucky that he had much more celestial ascension fruits than he needed, or else he would have run out a long time ago. Wang Lin was very careful along the way and was extremely vigilant. After a few days, he finally infused the juices of the celestial ascension fruits into most of the tentacles on the planet. About 70% to 80% of the tentacles of this moongazer serpent have the juice of the celestial ascension fruit sealed inside them. As soon as I activate the restrictions, the seals will collapse. Unfortunately, all of the celestial ascension fruits are now gone. If every single tentacle was affected, it would have been perfect. Wang Lin pondered a bit and gave up on the idea of leaving to search for more celestial ascension fruits. This place was too strange, and Wang Lin was afraid there would be new changes the next time he came. Once this moongazer serpent actually awakened, the celestial ascension fruits would be useless against it. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and his body sank underground. The earth was filled with a viscous liquid, so he had to activate the celestial spiritual energy in his body to force it away. Without pause, Wang Lin carefully charged to the metal vein deep under the earth. However, after descending for a while, Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he carefully looked around. Wang Lin found subtle fluctuations of celestial spiritual energy within the dirt around here. This celestial spiritual energy was trapped inside the viscous liquid. Wang Lin clearly remembered that the liquid was murky and didn't have a trace of celestial spiritual energy last time he was here. It seems someone came here within the last 100 years. They entered deep into the moongazer serpent and used a powerful spell. This is why there is celestial spiritual energy trapped in the dirt, and why the moongazer serpent is slowly changing to its third form from its second form. Wang Lin pondered while he sank. After an unknown amount of time, he arrived at where the metal vein was, which was also the bone of the moongazer serpent. A flame appeared and lit up the darkness around the bone. Wang Lin's eyes started glowing. His goal for coming here was this. He placed his right hand on the bone and was about to absorb it. However, he immediately stopped and began to ponder. To be able to cause the moongazer serpent to change state means this person's cultivation is shocking. If this kind of person already dead, then it won't be an issue. However, if he is still hiding or is trapped here, then when I take the bone and release the celestial ascension fruits, it is very likely that that person will appear. If this is the case, then it will add a lot of variables. Wang Lin withdrew his right hand. After pondering for a bit, He flew along the bone. He decided to carefully search the area to see if there was any other cultivator around. When Wang Lin needed to be cautious, he was always very cautious. This was especially true for a moment like this, where he could easily die if he was careless. He couldn't afford to not be cautious. Taking the bone from this moongazer serpent's body can be considered one of the 3 most dangerous moments in my life. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and became even more cautious. Back in the land of ancient God, he relied on wit. In the celestial realm, he relied on caution. At the demon spirit land, he relied on determination. He followed the bone and moved forward. After a long time, Wang Lin suddenly stopped. His eyes shined brightly as he stared at the bone before him. There was a huge fissure on the bone, and there was a dried layer of mucus over it. It was obvious that this was because a very long time had passed. This fissure was very deep, although not enough to cut the bone in half. Wang Lin clearly remembered that this crack didn't exist the last time he was here. After cautiously moving forward, Wang Lin carefully examined it, and his eyes became serious. No wonder the moongazer serpent is turning into its 3rd form. The pain caused by this kind of injury is enough to completely anger it. The person who injured it obviously doesn't know anything about the moongazer serpent, or they wouldn't have dared to do this. Wang Lin revealed a sneer. Then he moved and went around. However, he suddenly stopped and turned his head to look at the fissure once more. He felt like there was something wrong. After pondering for a bit, he returned to the fissure, and his eyes followed the dried mucus. After a long time, his eyes suddenly shined, and his right hand waved at the dried mucus. Celestial spiritual energy immediately appeared, and a celestial wind started blowing. The dried mucus immediately melted, revealing the deep fissure under it. In the depths of the fissure lied a huge mountain. The mucus was blocking the way before, so Wang Lin didn't see it. Also, the mountain had almost completely assimilated with the bone, so there was almost no difference between the two. When Wang Lin moved just a second ago, he found that the celestial spiritual energy here was much denser than everywhere else. The source of the celestial spiritual energy was the fissure. While staring at the mountain that had assimilated with the moongazer serpent's bone, the light in Wang Lin's eyes disappeared and was replaced with a mysterious light. Greed! Wang Lin revealed a grim expression. Wang Lin had seen this mountain before. This was the treasure Greed took out and extracted the mountain's soul from. They indeed chased after me. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. Now he was no longer anxious to take the moongazer serpent's bone. I just wanted to know if they all came, or if only a few people came, or if only Greed came. Wang Lin rubbed his chin as he stared at the mountain. He moved forward and went directly into the fissure. The walls of the bone were uneven, and the large amount of metal ore was giving off a red light. It looked very gorgeous. The 7-star sword formation has been taken by the tentacles, and I have no idea where it went. However, I can let go of this mountain. With Greed's status and habits, his treasures can be simple. Wang Lin's eyes revealed a strange light. He carefully looked around before arriving next to the mountain. The edge of the mountain had already assimilated with the bone, and it was impossible to tell the two apart. One could clearly see that some flame metal had appeared within the mountain. The assimilation is very thorough, so this will be a bit difficult. I can use the celestial ascension fruits right now. Wang Lin pondered for a bit before forming a sword with his 2 fingers and testing the toughness of the mountain. This mountain was very hard. His finger was filled with celestial spiritual energy but left no mark. His eyes lit up, and he transferred some of Ling Tianhu's sword energy into his finger. He gave up on getting the entire mountain. Instead, he went around the assimilated part and swung down. A crack silently appeared on the mountain and slowly spread. There was only a soft crackle as the close side of the mountain separated from the moongazer serpent's bone. The position Wang Lin chose was very ingenious. He completely avoided the assimilated part, so he didn't stimulate the moongazer serpent. After arriving on the other side, Wang Lin carefully looked at it and waved his fingers once more. This time, he was even more careful, because this side of the mountain had assimilated even more than the other side. Wang Lin's 2 fingers carefully moved around the mountain and slowly avoided the assimilated part. Just as he was about to completely remove the mountain, Wang Lin suddenly felt coldness from behind him that made his scalp tingle. He didn't even dare to spread out his divine sense. Under this cold aura, it was as if he had his eyes closed and there was a sword pointed between his eyebrows. At this moment, this feeling appeared along with the chill on his back. This feeling continued and became even clearer. Wang Lin's eyes became cold as his right hand grabbed the mountain that had been extracted. He immediately charged up, and his left hand pointed behind him. The stop spell! All of this happened in an instant. There was no hesitation at all. As Wang Lin moved, a roar came from behind him. Wang Lin quickly flew out after grabbing the mountain. He immediately put the mountain inside his bag and charged into the earth. Without any hesitation, he used an escape spell he learned from the old man. Roars echoed behind his body, and when he flew out, his divine sense spread out. To his horror, he saw the small moongazer serpent with 100 feet of its body outside the dirt with the rest still hidden in the earth. This small moongazer serpent was surrounded by the stop spell, which gave Wang Lin the perfect chance to escape. After Wang Lin had disappeared, the small moongazer serpent regained control, but its eyes were bloodshot. It let out a roar before disappearing back into the earth. Wang Lin was moving very fast through the earth and was already far away. This made him even more aware of how dangerous this place was. How many moongazer serpents are here? Wang Lin's expression was gloomy. What terrified him the most was that the moongazer serpent's appearance was extremely strange. He wasn't too aware of it closing in at all. It had been a long time since something like this had happened to him. That moongazer serpent is in its third form. That damn greed. Just what exactly did he do? If all he did was stab the mountain into the moongazer serpent's bone, it definitely wouldn't be like this. Wang Lin suddenly stopped while escaping. He seemed to have thought of something, and his expression became even more gloomy. Could it be? Tonight there will be 2 to 3 new chapters. Leo will do his utmost to make up for the chapters missing from the last 2 days. Chapter 713, Extracting the Bone of the Moongazer Serpent. In the memories of 2C, there was something inside the moongazer serpent called the moonflower. It was extremely poisonous, and nothing beside the blood of an ancient god could cure it. The value of this item would come into effect when the moongazer serpent died. It would cause the entire moongazer serpent to expand like a balloon until it exploded. This would kill everything in the star system, except ancient gods. The larger the moongazer serpent, the stronger the explosion. This was why there were no remains of dead moongazer serpents. This moonflower was what the moongazer serpents cared the most about. If anything endangered the moonflower, it would enrage the moongazer serpent to wipe out all dangers. I once heard that this greed doesn't go anywhere if there aren't treasures to be found. Could he have mistaken the moonflower for a treasure? Wang Lin's expression was gloomy. In the memories of ancient god 2C, the moonflower couldn't be taken out. If it was taken out, then it would immediately explode. If this is true, then an explosion from a moongazer serpent of this size could wipe out more than half of the northern domain. Wang Lin's scalp tingled. If no one provoked the moongazer serpent, even after countless years, it wouldn't die. It would just remain in its second form until it naturally died. Even then, it would take a very long time. Even if someone came with how strong the moongazer serpent was, it would be impossible for anyone to take the moonflower. That person would just be giving up their life. If this is greed looking for death, it has nothing to do with me. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he continued to search. Time slowly passed. Wang Lin had searched almost every part of the moongazer serpent aside from some inaccessible places. During this time, he didn't encounter any more moongazer serpents. If he wasn't killed by the moongazer serpent, then he was swallowed by it. Everything that the moongazer serpent swallows gathers at the point where absorption and excretion happens. I need to check that place. Wang Lin moved quickly toward that location. The moongazer serpent has its own circulation system. Its excretion didn't get expelled to the outside world. It was instead absorbed again by the body for nutrients. Several days later, Wang Lin carefully arrived at the absorption and excretion location of the moongazer serpent. There was a foul stench coming from the soil around here. Wang Lin frowned. He didn't go in far but circled around the edge. Just as his divine sense spread out, he suddenly heard a faint divine sense message coming from inside. Is there a fellow cultivator outside? Save me, and there will be great rewards. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed. He was very familiar with this voice. It was greed. Fellow cultivator, save me. I have a lot of treasures. If fellow cultivator saves me, I'll give you all of them. In the moongazer serpent's absorption and excretion spot, greed's body was very thin. He had lost a lot of his flesh, blood essence, and celestial spiritual energy to counter the absorption force here over the last 100 years. If it wasn't tea for the furnace, he would have already turned into nothing. Back then, he sensed that there was a powerful treasure hidden here. He only had this strong of a feeling back when he got this mysterious furnace. He was tempted by this, and entered this place. Planet Xianxia was very calm, and he successfully entered deep into the place toward the treasure he was sensing. The treasure he had his eyes on was the moongazer serpent S moonflower. Along the way he saw the metal vein, and after hesitating for a bit, he stabbed the celestial mountain into it. He was very greedy and wanted to pry off large sections at a time. Unfortunately, this great pain caused the moongazer serpent to awaken. If it wasn't tea for him taking out the furnace quickly enough, he would have already been killed. This shocked him greatly, and greed hid himself for several years until the moongazer serpent calmed down. He no longer dared to even think about the metal vein, and rushed toward where he sensed the treasure. Back then he already noticed that there was something wrong with this place. He intended to only take a look. If it was easy to take, he would take it, and if not, then he would immediately leave. With his life of seeking treasures, he successfully arrived at where the moonflower was. Greed only took one look before he sucked in a breath of cold air, and his eyes shined with greed. He didn't too know what the moonflower was, but he could clearly feel a powerful destructive force inside. He felt that even Ling Tianhu would be destroyed by this force. Due to his greed gave up on leaving and was ready to take this treasure. However, the moment he touched it, it seemed as if the entire planet truly awakened. At that moment, the moongazer serpent began to transform into its third form. Greed was only able to split a bit of his divine sense into the moonflower before a large mouth swallowed him. Then, he appeared in this place. He had analyzed this strange place. This planet was a very large beast. Terrified by this, he gave up on the treasure and was ready to flee. He relied on the power of the furnace to switch places many times to escape. However, each time he tried, he would be caught, swallowed, and thrown back into this place. Moreover, after the last time, these tentacles wrapped around the furnace as if they were absorbing its power and made the furnace lose its effect. With Greed's intelligence, he had naturally deducted that this was the beast's absorption and excretion area. He just didn't understand why the beast hadn't killed him and kept bringing him here. This was the first time in 100 years that he felt someone outside. The excitement he felt was indescribable. Fellow cultivator, save me. This old man swears there will be great rewards. Greed kept sending out divine sense messages. Wang Lin still hadn't said a word. Instead, he turned around to leave. Wang Lin knew that with his current cultivation level, it would be easy to enter, but it would be impossible to leave. After finding out that Greed had been trapped here and that no one had come to rescue him, Wang Lin was able to deduce that Greed was the only person who came from the Alliance star system. After understanding this, Wang Lin no longer had anything to worry about. If he were to waste time talking with Greed, then he wouldn't be Wang Lin. He turned around and left without any hesitation. He was not tempted by the treasures Greed talked about at all. Those that he should get, he would naturally get them, and those that he shouldn't get, he wouldn't be greedy over them. Otherwise it would be the same as wasting his 900+ years of cultivation. This was why Wang Lin gave up the last time he came here until he gathered enough celestial ascension fruits. He moved like the wind through the dirt. After an unknown amount of time, he arrived back at where the crack in the bone was. He carefully observed for a long time before determining that there was no other moongazer serpent around. Wang Lin sat down in the lotus position and let out a breath of foul air. He didn't move after he sat down, and the celestial guard came out and carefully observed his surroundings. After the danger he encountered last time, Wang Lin didn't dare to risk it. His hand formed a seal, and the seal he placed in the countless tentacles, sealing the celestial ascension fruit liquid, collapsed. If one looked from above, they would see that a majority of the countless tentacles covering planet Xianxia suddenly trembled. Bright red light came from the root of these tentacles. Without the seals, the celestial ascension fruit liquid was instantly released. If only one portion of celestial ascension fruit liquid was absorbed by the moongazer serpent, it was like a drop into the ocean. Like a mosquito bite, it wasn't painful or itchy. If there was time between each dose, it wouldn't be a big deal either. After all, the moongazer serpent's body had its own way of detoxing. However, at this moment, a majority of the tentacles were absorbing the liquid at once. As a result, it was as strong as a storm. At this moment, most of the tentacles stopped swaying and began to tremble. The power of the celestial ascension fruit suddenly spread out. The mysterious force of the large quantity of celestial ascension fruit liquid entered the moongazer serpent's body from its roots. This was the same as 100 streams form a creek, 1,000 creeks form a river, 10,000 river forms an ocean. The mysterious force of the celestial ascension fruit seemed to form an ocean, and it diffused across the moongazer serpent's body. The ground trembled greatly, and a very excited aura came from the earth. All of the tentacles seemed to have lost their aggression and began to drunkenly sway around. If Wang Lin's cultivation was insufficient or he didn't have the experience of the scattered devil pulling the planet's soul, then he would only have felt the earth tremble and not feel the sense of excitement coming from the moongazer serpent's soul. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. Without any hesitation, his arms spread out and touched both sides of the split bone. It was as if he was linking them with his own body. The third ability of the underworld river, power of the underworld. Wang Lin's underworld river appeared. It split into two parts along his arms and charged out like two fierce dragons. It moved very fast along the bone and covered it. Wang Lin shouted, "Bone extraction!" A powerful suction came from the underworld river. This third ability came from the tide abyss in the demon spirit land. This power was gained from an enlightenment Wang Lin had when he experienced the invisible force created by the intersection of two star systems. Its power would grow indefinitely along with his Tao. At this moment, he used it with his late-stage ascendant cultivation, and it was enough to cause the entire planet to tremble. Even the fog around the planet was affected. Waves of muffled roars that gave off an ancient feeling came from the earth and spread very far. Good night, everyone. We will meet again tomorrow. Just wait a moment. Remember to like the video. Chapter 714, The Moongazer Serpent Awakens. In planet Xianxia, Wang Lin was sitting in the lotus position, and his eyes were shining. The power of the underworld river was covering both sections of the bone. At this moment, the two sections of bone were moving as if they were alive. Following a burst of golden light, the trembling became more violent. It wasn't only one part, but the entire bone was trembling. It was as if a big hand was holding someone's spine and shaking it violently, thus causing their whole body to tremble. The moongazer serpent was like this right now. The entire planet began to tremble violently. The area around Wang Lin was shaking violently, but his body seemed to be rooted in place and remained motionless. Great pain spread across this giant moongazer serpent, but due to the large amount of celestial ascension fruits, the pain was dulled greatly. Also, through some strange means, this pain was converted into an intense sense of excitement. Bursts of red mist came out of the countless tentacles covering the planet. The tentacles trembled violently and muffled roars seemed to come from the planet. All of the tentacles on the surface extended like crazy, and their lengths increased several fold from their original 1,000 feet. If one looked at planet Xianxia from space, it would look like a giant sea urchin. Deep inside planet Xianxia, Wang Lin's eyes shined even more. Endless suction force came from his arms and spread across the two sections of the bone. The suction force was like a knife separating the bone from the moongazer serpent's body. During this process, this giant moongazer serpent shook even more violently. Countless cracks appeared on the surface of the planet, and the tentacles extended even farther. At the same time, a large amount of dirt fell off the moongazer serpent. If one saw this from the sky, they would see a large amount of dirt floating off the planet and into space. However, if one looked from space, they would see countless land masses coming off from planet Xianxia and slowly floating away. It was like an egg with its shell rapidly cracking and falling off. An ancient aura slowly came from inside the planet as the dirt flew off. It was as if a fierce beast that had been sleeping for countless years was gradually awakening. The vibration became more and more intense, and more red mist started coming from the tentacles. The mixture of the red mist and the fog outside seemed to form a dense cocoon. In planet Xianxia, Wang Lin's eyes shined even brighter. The earth trembled even more violently before, and a thick sense of crisis came at him from all directions. Wang Lin suddenly stood up and moved as fast as light. Right now his eyes contained the might of thunder. He instantly arrived on the left section of the bone. Both of his hands grabbed onto the bone and he shouted, "Rise!" This roar was like a rumbling thunder that spat out all of Wang Lin's energy in exchange for great power. Countless veins on his arms bulged, and there were even flashes of runes that appeared from the cycling of his celestial spiritual energy. Both of his hands were gripping the left section of the bone tightly. His eyes revealed a trace of madness, but deep within this madness there was an extraordinary sense of calmness. "Rise for me," Wang Lin shouted again, and he pulled with his hands again. The earth shook even more violently and painful roars came through the earth. However, due to the power of the celestial ascension fruits, the giant moongazer serpent wasn't able to determine what this feeling was. The earth shook even more violently, and Wang Lin's body tensed up and he pulled once more. He managed to make this half of the bone move 3 inches. As long as it could be moved, even 1 inch was important. Wang Lin activated all of the celestial spiritual energy in his body without hesitation and pulled on the bone. Endless rumbles came from the earth as the bone that was countless kilometers long was slowly dragged out by Wang Lin. 7 inches, 10 inches, 3 feet, 6 feet, 10 feet, 100 feet. The sound of friction was enough to shake one's soul. Wang Lin began to pull this half of the bone faster and faster. Wang Lin's face was ferocious, and the celestial spiritual energy in his body was surging like crazy. If he hadn't reached the late stage of ascendant, his body might not have been able to bear using celestial spiritual energy like this. Every time the celestial spiritual energy cycled once, Wang Lin's strength would increase greatly. Time was of the essence, and the danger increased 1-fold every second he spent here. Wang Lin's eyes were blood red as he let out another roar. His strength reached its peak. There was a loud rumble as Wang Lin rushed toward the surface with this section of the bone. The celestial guard immediately passed by Wang Lin and charged toward the other section of bone. In comparison, the celestial guard that was at the illusory yin stage and cultivated a method similar to the ancient gods was much stronger than Wang Lin. It arrived next to the bone in a flash and grabbed it with both hands. When the celestial guard pulled the other section of the bone, the earth trembled even more violently. The rumbling sounded like countless bolts of thunder descending. As the celestial guard held the bone, its body glowed gold with a hint of red. It dragged the bone and followed closely after Wang Lin. Wang Lin and the celestial guard dragged one section of the bone each as they quickly broke through all the earth before them and headed toward the surface. Their speed was too fast, as Wang Lin was using all his speed without any hesitation. At first he wasn't fast, but once he gained momentum he became faster and faster. The earth trembled and the moongazer serpent roared even louder. The tentacles released more red mist, and under the stimulation of this intense pain, the moongazer serpent rapidly transformed into its third form. However, thanks to the celestial ascension fruits, the transformation process became a lot slower, and the moongazer serpent was unable to tell where the intense pain was coming from. After all, its body was too big. Also, it was only gradually awakening, so it was still in a drowsy state. This allowed the celestial ascension fruits to be even more effective. As the earth rumbled, Wang Lin charged out. The moment he charged out, the madness in his eyes was even more intense. He mercilessly pulled the bone out from underground. The loud sound made the earth tremble even more, and the sound of the bone grinding against the earth was enough to give people headaches. This half section of bone was simply too big and stretched for endless kilometers like a mountain range. From a distance, it looked like a giant, golden fire dragon. This object was too big to be put into the bag of holding, so Wang Lin had to drag the bone as he charged toward the sky. His figure was too insignificant compared to this giant bone. If one didn't look closely, they wouldn't even see him. Just at this moment, the earth rumbled once more and the celestial guard charged out. It was carrying the other half of the bone and followed closely after Wang Lin. Charge! Wang Lin's eyes were bloodshot, and the cycle of celestial spiritual energy in his body was already beyond his limit. Some of the celestial spiritual energy was leaking out of his body, causing him massive pain. However, compared to being able to obtain the moongazer serpent S-bone, this pain was worth it. Wang Lin knew that he had to leave quickly, because if he was a bit slower, everything would be ruined, and he could even lose his life here. He didn't believe the moongazer serpent would have any thoughts of letting the creature that took its bone escape. Once he was devoured, he would without a doubt die. Although the tentacles wanted to wrap around them, due to the effect of the celestial ascension fruits, their movements were slower. However, the bone was simply too big, so even though the tentacles were slower, many of them still wrapped around the bone, Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding without any hesitation and took out the restriction flag. His eyes revealed a sign of heartbreak, but this was not the time to worry about it. He formed a seal and pointed at the restriction flag. This flag suddenly trembled and seemed to let out a sad cry. After all, it had been with Wang Lin for many years, and more than 900 years of refining it had caused a hint of intelligence to form. The sad cry revealed a trace of decisiveness. The restriction flag collapsed and the countless restrictions fused together into a black meteor. There seemed to be a flame burning inside it as it crashed down on the tentacles wrapped around the bone. The self-destruction of the restriction flag was exchanged for a powerful force. At this moment, a huge restriction appeared, and this restriction contained a spirit. This spirit was formed due to Wang Lin, and it also extinguished for Wang Lin. Because this huge restriction carried a spirit, it released endless power. When it fell on the tentacles, it caused them to instantly slow down. The Moongazer serpent was simply too powerful. Even the self-destruction of the restriction flag couldn't cut off the tentacles. It could only delay the tentacles for a moment. Wang Lin secretly sighed, but he mercilessly pulled without any hesitation. The entangled bone was pulled up and Wang Lin charged toward the fog in the sky while carrying the bone. As for the section of bone carried by the celestial guard, it was also entangled. However, with the destruction of the restriction flag, it was also pulled free, and the guard rushed after Wang Lin. As long as they could pass through this layer of fog, they would be in endless space. However, just at this moment, the trembling in the earth reached a peak and a huge gap appeared. It was like a huge mouth, and a roar that shook the heavens and earth came out from this huge mouth. Wang Lin's body trembled, and all the celestial spiritual energy in his body collapsed. His face filled with pain, and he coughed out a mouthful of blood. 4,000 words in a major chapter. Read an extra 1,000 words, wishing for the like button on the video to help. You are listening to a completely free audiobook on the Leo Audio YouTube channel. If you enjoy the story, please like the video to motivate the channel. Support Leo with a cup of coffee through the description link or on the screen. If you want to hear any other stories, just comment and let Leo know. Thank you very much for watching the video. Chapter 715 Escape, Escape, Escape. Even the celestial guard's body trembled, and the golden light around its body dissipated a bit. Wang Lin clenched his teeth. He ignored the aura of the giant mouth as he charged out once more toward the dense fog. However, the crack on the ground rose like crazy. At this moment, the earth began to constantly rise and the entire planet began to rumble. Large amounts of land collapsed and flew off into space. This scene was almost exactly the same as when the original body caused a planet to collapse. However, that planet collapsed from the inside, and the explosion was extremely powerful. If low-level cultivators were too close, they would have no chance of surviving. However, planet Xianxia was slightly different. Although it was also collapsing, there was no destructive force. It was more the Moongazer serpent waking up and shaking off the debris that had gathered on its body over the years. The constantly rising earth was only an illusion, as the so-called earth was merely the Moongazer serpent's body. The rise of the earth was just the Moongazer serpent turning around and raising its head. The giant crack instantly closed in, and its speed was unimaginable. Wang Lin's eyes became cold. The power of the celestial ascension fruits was still there, or else there would be no way for him to escape. As long as he could stop the Moongazer serpent for a moment, he could charge through the fog and enter space. Wang Lin clenched his teeth and was about to slap his bag of holding when his eyes suddenly narrowed. At this moment, he felt a fluctuation he was very familiar with as the huge mouth approached him. That was the fluctuation from the 7-star sword formation. He withdrew his right hand from the bag and formed a seal. He then pointed forward and shouted, "Sword formation spin!" His voice carried power as it charged out like a bolt of thunder toward the 7-star sword formation inside the huge mouth. The 7-star sword formation rapidly spun and gave off endless sword energy as it attacked like crazy from the inside. However, these attacks were really insignificant to the Moongazer serpent, and weren't able to stop it for even half a second. Seeing the mouth coming closer and closer, Wang Lin's eyes shined brightly and he shouted, "Rat sword explode!" A muffled sound came from the mouth and then a roar came from inside. The mouth moved even faster and was within 1,000 feet of Wang Lin. Wang Lin's speed was very fast, and he and the celestial guard had now entered the dense fog. However, this dense fog rapidly dissipated as the mouth closed in. It disappeared without a trance in the blink of an eye. After countless years, this was the first time the dense fog around the serpent had disappeared. Pig, sheep, monkey, ox, tiger, and hare all explode. Wang Lin's eyes were filled with madness. Rumble, 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 countless explosions echoed within the moongazer serpent. Not only did the swords explode, the evil spirits that reside within them also exploded. At this moment, a powerful destructive force formed as the seven-star sword formation launched its most powerful attack at the moongazer serpent. However, the moongazer serpent was so strong that the explosion of the seven-star sword formation had no effect on it. It merely slowed it for a moment due to the impact of the explosion. However, what Wang Lin wanted was for it to slow down. He and the Celestial Guard quickly charged out. The stars were right before their eyes. The huge mouth quickly recovered. The power of the Celestial Ascension fruits still made it unsure where this powerful sense of pain and excitement was coming from. However, in its confused state after awakening, it felt the two creatures that were trying to escape were carrying something familiar. It subconsciously chased to try to keep those two familiar things here. When it saw the other two move even faster and faster, it let out a sound that hadn't been heard in countless years. Although this sound had no practical meaning, it was extremely strange. The moment this sound appeared, Wang Lin's scalp immediately went numb. This was the language of the ancient god. Wang Lin gasped. The memories from Tusidon Tea show that moongazer serpents can speak the language of the ancient gods. What kind of moongazer serpent is this? The moment the words of the ancient gods echoed, the sky changed. Wang Lin suddenly had a feeling that the thing chasing him was no longer a moongazer serpent, but an adult ancient god. The ancient god's language echoed, and it was very ancient. However, what it brought Wang Lin was the sense that a life and death crisis was about to happen. Cracks appeared in the space around this area as if it was about to collapse. This made Wang Lin almost lose his wit. He knew this spell. This was a shattering spell that only an 8-star ancient god could use. It could shatter everything in sight and cause everything in its range to collapse into dust. The sense of life and death he was feeling had never been so strong. Wang Lin turned around and let out a loud yet strange roar. What he spoke was also the language of the ancient gods which he inherited from 2C. The earth suddenly paused and the huge mouth closed slightly. At the same time, two more cracks appeared, revealing a pair of cold eyes. This gaze fell on Wang Lin, and it revealed a trace of coldness and confusion. Due to the moongazer serpent being interrupted, the collapse of the space around them stopped. Wang Lin fled without hesitation, and the Celestial Guard never stopped. Just at this moment, a thin figure charged out from the depths of the crack with a sense of fear and excitement. He was Greed. The huge change to the moongazer serpent caused the absorption and excretion location in the moongazer serpent to change violently, resulting in an opening. Greed used this opening to escape, and of course he wouldn't leave behind the huge furnace. After charging out of that place, Greed noticed how terrifying the moongazer serpent was. He didn't hesitate to use the huge furnace to help him fly up. When he looked, he saw the giant crack and even the stars outside of it. Excitement that hadn't appeared in 100 years surged through his body. He even felt tears appear in his eyes. These days of living not like a human or a ghost was finally about to end. He recalled the past 100 years. He had spent almost all that time in the beast's excretion location. To him, this was a disgrace. In particular, that foul stench was something he could never forget. Even though the stench was gone, he felt like he could still smell it. Greed vowed that once he escaped, he would never take half a step into the northern domain of the Al-Heaven star system. In the future, when he goes treasure hunting again, he must be careful, and more careful. Seeing the crack come closer and closer, Greed's excitement had reached its peak. Old man Greed is finally going to be free. At this moment, the confusion in the moongazer serpent's eyes suddenly disappeared, and the ancient god's language echoed once more. Wang Lin's entire body felt cold. In this moment of life and death, he couldn't hesitate anymore. He sent out a command that caused the Celestial Guard to slow down and throw the half of the bone it was carrying down at the moongazer serpent. I'll give you back half. Half of the bone was like a huge mountain, so it created a harsh whistling sound as it fell down through the atmosphere. This caused the huge mouth to pause once more. The collapse of the surrounding space stopped once more. The moongazer serpent stared at the rapidly falling mountain, and its eyes revealed confusion once more. This thing was very familiar, but it couldn't remember what it was. However, it subconsciously opened its mouth and swallowed the mountain range. Greed's excitement was so strong that it seemed like he had devoured countless celestial ascension fruits. He was moving very fast as he got closer and closer to the crack. He even wanted to roar loudly. The almost 100 years of misery was finally about to end. He couldn't teleport inside the moongazer serpent. He already knew this. The moment he tried to teleport, he would be obstructed by a strange force, which would cause his speed to become even slower. However, just at this moment when Greed was very close to the crack, a giant shadow suddenly eclipsed over the crack. Greed was startled and he rubbed his eyes. He even suspected that he was hallucinating. What was this giant shadow? After being covered in the stench inside the moongazer serpent for so long, even Greed's mind was a bit dull. This is a mountain. Greed's eyes revealed despair, and his excitement instantly dissipated. Anyone else who suddenly felt these powerful contradicting feelings would feel like they were about to collapse. However, Greed was a powerful cultivator. He let out a roar as he charged forward and entered his furnace. Then the furnace smashed toward the side. The mountain whisked by, and the edge of the mountain rubbed against the furnace, causing a series of sparks. The vibrations caused Greed, who was inside, to keep coughing up blood. Damn! After barely avoiding the mountain, Greed appeared from the furnace completely pale. He didn't have full control of the furnace, so if he was inside it for too long, he would be refined by the terrifying aura within it. After swallowing half the mountain, the confusion in the moongazer serpent became even stronger. This feeling was very familiar it was about to remember. Borrowing the moment of hesitation from the moongazer serpent, Wang Lin commanded the celestial guard to help carry the bone. Both of them quickly fled toward the stars. The confusion in the moongazer serpent gradually dissipated, and the power of the celestial ascension fruits was about to disappear. It now remembered that this mountain wasn't any ordinary thing. It was formed from its own bones. As the celestial ascension fruits effect disappeared, the moongazer serpent was able to detect the location of the pain. It was from where its bones should have been. A storm suddenly appeared. After the celestial ascension fruits effect disappeared, the pain that was hidden by the fruits revealed itself. This caused the moongazer serpent's rage to completely explode. Brothers, have you not yet hit the like button for the video? Wish that the like button for the video would be hit. Chapter 716 Moongazer's Wrath, the Finger of the Ancient God. In the memories of Ancient God 2C, there was one line he used to describe the moongazer serpents. If the heavens have a spirit, then the ancient God has a moongazer. The spirit can be considered a soul. In short, the first half of the sentence states that the heavens is alive. It has its own existence or a sense of spirit that normal creatures can detect. The second half is referring to the moongazer serpent. Even ancient God 2C didn't know how the moongazer serpents came to be. It seemed to have already existed for a very long time. It was like the heavens and its spirit. Both were elusive things that no one could explain. The moongazer's wrath, the finger of an ancient god. This was the second description of the moongazer serpent in Ancient God 2C's memories, and it was the one Wang Lin had the most profound impression of. Reading between the lines, it means that once a moongazer serpent is angry and reaches its third form, it has the power of a finger of an ancient god. This power varies, but the finger of a 9-star ancient god is enough to collapse a cultivation planet. If it was a 1-star ancient god, it would be laughed at by a disciple. However, the giant moongazer serpent before Wang Lin was not a joke. Wang Lin's whole body gave off a cold light when his and the celestial guard's speeds reached a limit as they carried the bone and escaped. He had tried to absorb it with the heaven-defying bead, but for some reason it was very slow and couldn't be finished in a short period of time. At this moment, a loud rumble violently echoed across planet Xianxia. This sound was so loud that it would be an understatement to call it thunder. This angry roar echoed across the stars and could be heard far away. Wang Lin's eyelid twitched. He didn't turn around and quickly escaped. The moongazer serpent wouldn't die if it lost its bone. It only needed time to grow another one. However, this bone was grown after countless years, so it was no wonder the moongazer serpent was so angry. The moongazer serpent's large body slowly stretched from its round shape from before. This caused the earth to tremble even more, and the land collapsed once more. This time, the collapse was even more thorough. Countless large tentacles constantly extended and swayed around, and an unimaginable aura gradually spread out from its body. Greed's body came out from the huge furnace. However, it was a really bad time to come out, because it was when the moongazer serpent was releasing its anger. When Greed looked at the not far away crack, his eyes turned red. He let out a roar and accelerated like crazy. He wanted to rush out. However, just at this moment, the crack slowly closed. Greed's eyes shed blood tears and he let out a miserable scream. No! The moongazer serpent closed its mouth, and its huge body was filled with power. However, its actions were still slow and it still didn't have full control of itself. However, as the remaining celestial ascension fruit mist was purged from its system, it was gradually regaining control. Wang Lin carried the moongazer serpent's bone with the celestial guard behind him. The moment they entered space, he slapped his bag of holding and the star compass appeared. He turned into a ray of silver light and flew off into the distance without turning back. The moongazer serpent's cold gaze stared at the faraway Wang Lin. The huge tentacles on its body moved slightly, and a powerful storm suddenly appeared. This storm was so powerful that it created a series of sonic booms. A powerful shockwave spread out in all directions. Then the moongazer serpent moved. One almost couldn't tell it had moved, but its distance from Wang Lin was closed in an instant. At the same time, the moongazer serpent opened its mouth and spoke the language of the ancient gods. Wang Lin's scalp felt numb when he saw hundreds of smaller moongazer serpents charge out from its mouth. Greed was also inside its mouth. When he saw the stars, his excitement ignited once more. This feeling was too good, as it had been too long since he'd seen the stars. He was so excited that he couldn't speak. But he knew that he hadn't truly escaped. He instantly saw the star compass far away and recognized Wang Lin. Greed was suddenly enlightened, and his eyes revealed hatred. However, he didn't dare to act carelessly. There were too many of these 1,000-feet-long fierce beasts around him, and he feared that his movements would attract them to him. Wang Lin sucked in a breath of cold air. Without any hesitation, he touched his bag of holding and took out the celestial wine. He clenched his teeth and drank a mouthful, leaving only 2 drops. In an instant, endless celestial spiritual energy exploded in his body. This celestial energy was dense and rich. After all, this was something that belonged to a true celestial. Enduring the powerful pain and sense of passing out, Wang Lin raised his right hand. He mercilessly pointed at those moongazer serpents and shouted, "Stop!" The celestial spiritual energy that was about to explode from his body suddenly surged out from his finger. It turned into an infinite force that surrounded the heavens and earth. One word seemed to have stopped the heavens and earth from moving. Normally, Wang Lin wouldn't be able to do this. He was relying on the celestial wine. Without the celestial wine, it was impossible for him to use the stop spell to this degree. Borrowing this moment, Wang Lin charged out without any hesitation. He moved very quickly and used those escape spells he learned from the old man from the demon spirit land. Wang Lin had stopped the small moongazer serpents, but the stop spell had no effect on the large moongazer serpent that formed planet Xianxia. It rushed out, and the fierce impact it caused allowed the smaller moongazer serpents to regain their freedom. However, Greed's luck was really bad. He was also stopped and recovered slightly slower. As the moongazer serpent charged out, he fell into its mouth once more. Greed felt his vision go black, and at the next moment he found he was actually back inside the crack once more. Feeling desperate, Greed's eyes revealed madness. He bit the tip of his tongue and spat out a large mouth of blood onto the huge furnace. The furnace gave off an ancient aura, and a ripple spread out. Greed's eyes flashed, and he immediately changed positions with the fastest small moongazer serpent. His expression was extremely pale as he coughed out another mouthful of blood. He then pointed at Wang Lin and shouted, "Wang Lin, don't you dare leave!" Wang Lin had long noticed Greed. He didn't even turn his head as he pointed behind himself, and the storm-like celestial spiritual energy in his body surged out. "Stop!" Greed was about to use the furnace's ability once more to switch himself and Wang Lin. However, the stop spell descended, and his body froze. The moongazer serpent's gaze suddenly fell on Greed, and its eyes shined brightly. It sensed an aura that made it feel very comfortable coming from the huge furnace. Back then, when the moongazer serpent hadn't awakened, The reason it didn't kill greed was because of this furnace. However, it wasn't awake back then, so it subconsciously sent greed and the furnace toward its excretion spot. Although that was the moongazer serpent's excretion spot, it was also where the moongazer serpent absorbed thing. It subconsciously wanted to absorb the furnace, and this led to greed's 100 years of suffering. At the moment greed's body was frozen, the moongazer serpent quickly charged forth. Wang Lin's eyes revealed a strange light. He used this change to widen the distance once more. Greed only felt his vision go black. When he regained his senses, he had been swallowed once more and was at the edge of the crack. This constant rise and fall made Greed's face extremely bitter, and it made his hatred for Wang Lin even stronger. It was all because of you. Greed mercilessly clenched his teeth, then his hand formed a seal and he pressed on the furnace. A milky white light came out from his head and imprinted on the furnace. Greed roared, "Even if I have to sacrifice my life force, I'll still escape from this place." The furnace absorbed Greed's life force and immediately grew larger. In the blink of an eye, it started growing. An ancient aura constantly spread out as the furnace grew larger. The moongazer serpent let out roar. As the roar echoed, Wang Lin coughed out another mouthful of blood. He had already been seriously injured. As for the celestial guard, it also shook violently, and the golden light around it collapsed. Even the light in its eyes had turned bleak. But compared to Wang Lin, its injuries were rather light. As the furnace expanded, Wang Lin decisively rushed out. The mouth of the moongazer serpent was being propped open by the expanding furnace. "This old man doesn't want this furnace." Greed's heart ached as he turned around and was going to dash away. However, just at this moment, the moongazer serpent spat out the giant furnace and its eyes revealed a mysterious light. Countless tentacles immediately extended and wrapped around the huge furnace. Other tentacles quickly rushed toward